Chapter 51. Ning Qing walked out of the Fee and Pill Pavilion. He did not dare to take out the golden cicada fruit. He had learned from the waiter that even if he had a golden cicada fruit, it would still be very difficult for him to obtain a chi-gathering pill. Taking a step back, even if he could use the golden cicada fruit to exchange for a chi-gathering pill, he would still have to go through the Clear Heart Academy. If Ning Qing was not a retard, then why would he do such a thing? If the Flying Swallow Pill Pavilion was like this, then there was no need to go to the other pill pavilions. It would definitely be the same. It seemed that even if he had the golden cicada fruit, it would not be easy to get the chi-gathering pill. Because of his experience with the Fee and Pill Pavilion, Ning Qing decided to look for a relatively ordinary crafting pavilion. He did not intend to take out his Flood Dragon Horn. He wanted to sell the curved blade magic artifact in his hand and then exchange it for a needle-shaped magic artifact. Ning Qing obviously did not know much about crafting artifacts. As he searched for a full half a day, even when the sky was turning dark, he still could not find a place dedicated to crafting artifacts. At most, there were only a few merchant houses that sold weapons and low-leveled artifacts, although these places could also be used for crafting artifacts, but they were all ordinary artifacts. As for the artifacts that Ning Qing had requested, it was absolutely impossible to refine them. This made Ning Qing very disappointed. He even thought about his own artifact crafting, but thinking about the chi-gathering pill, he could not help but feel somewhat discouraged. If everyone was like him, with no pills to refine by themselves, no magic treasures to refine by themselves, then cultivation would be too simple. In Nanyuan City, it was not impossible to find a refiner. It was precisely because no matter if it was alchemy or artifact forging, it wasn't something that could be learned easily. It might even take a lifetime to learn. That was why there were so few alchemists and artifact forging masters in Nanyuan City. Even if there were a few alchemists or artifacts craftsmen, they would not stay in a place like the Ping Continent. Ning Qing had already decided to give up on crafting artifacts, and would return to the rest stop to rest for a day, and then go to the Clear Heart Academy to inquire if he could see an E. If he could see an E earlier, then he would have left Nanyuan City earlier. "Friend, please wait." Just as Ning Qing was about to return to the rest stop, someone suddenly called out to him. Ning Qing stopped, and turned around to see a short and thin wretched-looking middle-aged man, but his cultivation was not weak. He was already at the chi-gathering 3rd level. "You called me?" Ning Qing asked in a deep voice. He seemed to have seen this guy before, but he could not remember which shop he had met him in. In order to find a place to forge weapons, he went to many shops. "My name is Guchang. Is this friend looking for someone to customize an artifact?" This short skinny middle-aged man cupped his fists towards Ning Qing, and spoke with a trace of an inquiring tone. Although this person's name was completely opposite to his appearance, Ning Qing did not find it funny. Instead he frowned and spoke in a cold voice. "So you are following me?" Guchang hastily waved his hand and said, "Friend, please do not misunderstand. I, Guchang, am a reputable person in the Nanyuan City. How could I follow you?" Because recently, a lot of cultivators who came to Nanyuan City were unable to find a refining place, and I happen to know a refining grandmaster. I've already helped a lot of people. As long as you're willing, I can take you to that master refiner. Ning Qing immediately came to understand. It turned out that this person was trying to pull in business from everywhere, and was specifically lurking outside some of the artifact-level pavilions. At the same time, Ning Qing was also secretly vigilant in his heart. He had been followed by a chi-gathering 4th-level cultivator for so long, but he did not know about it. The order of the Nanyuan City made Ning Qing feel relieved. At least he had not seen the situation in the Mingat City and the Zhanglo City. Besides, this person was only at the chi-gathering 3rd level, and his cultivation level was almost the same. Thinking till here, Ning Qing nodded and said, "Okay, how much do you need as payment?" Ning Qing came from Earth. Of course he knew that there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. This Guchang took the initiative to look for him. He definitely wanted to earn a bit. He absolutely would not do a good deed for no reason. When Guchang heard Ning Cheng's words, he immediately gave a thumbs up and said, "Friend, you are the most straightforward person I have ever seen, you are very straightforward. You will definitely not suffer a loss. This master can be said to be the most powerful refining master in the entire Nan Yuan city." Ning Cheng directly interrupted Guchang's words, "Say the price and take me there, as for the rest, it is not very important." Ning Cheng did not believe that Guchang was the most powerful. If this master refiner was really the most powerful, then there would not be a need for people like Guchang to pull in business from everywhere. If there was such a powerful master refiner, then in this Nan Yuan city, he would have already purchased the most luxurious refining building. Fortunately, as long as he was able to refine a fine needle that conformed to his idea, as for the quality, he did not care about it. In this Nan Yuan city, if he wanted to refine a top-quality artifact, then it would be better to just dream about it. Guchang saw that Ning Cheng was not interested in talking to him, and said with some embarrassment, "Because this master refiner does not like to be disturbed by others, moreover he is a real expert, so the price I want is a bit higher, I need 2 low-grade spirit stones." Ning Cheng sneered, "You take me to find a place to refine artifacts and you want 2 low-grade spirit stones, in this 1 year, wouldn't you be one of the richest people in the entire Nan Yuan city? If spirit stones were so easy to earn, then why would I still want to go to the Dawn Forest to risk my life? You go and find a customer who has 2 spirit stones, I am a poor person, and do not have any." Finished. Ning Cheng said that, he turned around and walked away. 2 spirit stones in the Nan Yuan city was already a huge amount of wealth. Even if Ning Cheng could afford these 2 spirit stones, he would not be a spendthrift. The core disciples of the Clear Heart Academy, Lu Shui and Lu Buhong, were only rewarded with 1 spirit stone every month. If they wanted to get extra spirit stones, then they would have to go out and fight for their lives. "Wait, why don't you give me 10 chi gathering stones?" Guchang saw that Ning Cheng simply ignored him, and quickly called out to Ning Cheng, and immediately dropped the price by a few dozen times. Ning Cheng actually had a few dozen chi gathering stones on him. They were some of the spoils of war, but these things were not of much use to him, they contained too many impurities. Moreover, Ning Cheng really wanted to find a master refiner to refine an artifact for him, so this time he did not haggle with Guchang. He took out 10 chi gathering stones from his bag and threw them to Guchang. "Lead the way." Guchang received the chi gathering stones, and was overjoyed in his heart. He was just asking for a sky-high price. He did not think that Ning Cheng would really give him 10 chi gathering stones. "Friend, please come with me." Guchang suddenly became extremely enthusiastic. He politely stretched out his hand, and then led the way. Ning Cheng followed behind Guchang, and at the same time was also carefully watching the surroundings. Guchang took 7 or 8 turns, and walked with Ning Cheng for nearly half an hour, passing through dozens of large and small streets, and finally entered a residential area. After arriving here, there were very few people around, even the entire street could only see 1 or 2 ordinary people. Just as Ning Cheng was getting impatient, Guchang entered a small alley, and stopped in front of a low bungalow and said, "This is it, this Grandmaster's temperament is somewhat eccentric. Whether or not he is willing to help you refine artifacts, I do not know. I have already brought you here, you can go in by yourself, I will not go with you." After speaking to Ning Cheng, Guchang called out to the bungalow, "Grandmaster Gongsun, I helped you find another business." After saying this sentence, Guchang quickly turned around and fled, and in the blink of an eye disappeared from this small alley. Ning Cheng knew that he was deceived. This small alley was simply a place where ordinary mortals lived. How could there be a master refiner? If there really was a master refiner, how could this Guchang escape? Fortunately, he only gave him 10 chi gathering stones. Whether it was true or false, Ning Cheng still pushed open the door and walked in. The inside of the house was very dark. Ning Cheng could only vaguely see the things inside the house. The furnishings inside were very simple. There was only a table and 2 chairs, other than that, there was nothing else. There was a room on the left and right side of the house. The room on the right was closed, but the room on the left was flashing with a glimmer of light. Is there anyone here? Ning Cheng called out. For a long time, there was no answer. Ning Cheng walked to the door of the room on the left, and pushed it with his hand, but found that the door was unlocked. After entering the room, Ning Cheng saw that there was someone inside the room. Not only was there someone, but it was an old woman with a head full of white hair. This old woman's back was facing him, in front of her there was a stove, above the stove there was a flame. However, this furnace was not a furnace for refining tools, but an ordinary household furnace. On top of the stove there was a round pot. He did not know what was cooking inside the pot. At this time the old woman did not seem to know that Ning Cheng had entered the room. She raised her hand to open the lid of the pot, and a fragrant aroma assailed his nostrils. Ning Cheng was somewhat speechless as he shook his head. This was simply an ordinary mortal's home, and the people here were cooking. I'm sorry, Granny, I came to the wrong place. Saying that, Ning Cheng quickly stepped back. But Ning Cheng soon entered the room again. He found that there was something wrong. This room did not even have a window. The old woman was burning the stove inside, but he did not smell even a little bit of smoke. Because he did not smell any smoke, Ning Cheng remembered that this stove did not seem to have anything to burn. This was absolutely not normal. He did not believe that an ordinary person would be able to burn a stove without charcoal. Sure enough, when Ning Cheng entered the room again, he could see it even more clearly. This stove indeed did not have anything to burn, but the flame also had a trace of spirituality. Ning Cheng's senses were extremely powerful. He could tell at a glance that this flame was not ordinary firewood. This junior heard that Senior is an artifact refining grandmaster, and specifically came to ask Senior to help me refine an artifact. I have disturbed Senior's quiet cultivation. I ask Senior to forgive me. After Ning Cheng found that this flame was unusual, he found that he could not see the cultivation of this old woman. He immediately guessed that this old woman should be a hidden cultivator. For this kind of eccentric hidden cultivator, Ning Cheng did not dare to act casually. Chapter 52. Thinking till here, Ning Cheng quickly said, "May I ask Senior if you have any alchemy jade strips? If there is, this junior would like to borrow it." With that, she took out a jade strip and threw it to Ning Cheng. "Let me show you what a real concealment technique is. I can give you the concealment cultivation method jade strip, but you need to answer 2 of my questions." The old woman saw Ning Cheng grab the jade strip. She knew that Ning Cheng was shocked by this concealment technique. She was not surprised that Ning Cheng could look at the jade strip even though he was only at the Qi gathering realm. Ha! Seeing the flood dragon horn in Ning Cheng's hand, the old woman was surprised. She raised her hand and snatched the flood dragon horn. Her speed was incomparably fast. The old woman's mouth showed a trace of a smile for the first time. Ning Cheng could see that although the old woman was not laughing at him, but the meaning behind it was not much different from ridiculing him. Ning Cheng with his fastest speed, swept through the concealment technique once again. Magic techniques and cultivation methods were different. They were not as complex and lengthy as cultivation methods. Ning Cheng's memory was amazing. Just by casually sweeping through it once, he was almost able to remember everything. You want to refine the 7 Pleiades ice needle? You are just a Qi gathering cultivator, yet you have this kind of profound grade magic technique? It seems that the secret on your body is not small. The old woman looked at Ning Cheng meaningfully and said. Fortunately, the old woman did not continue to ask, and just slowly said, "I took something from Guchang, but I helped him refine a low-level artifact, so he thought that I was a refining master. In fact, I am not a refining master." Ning Cheng froze for a moment. This was obvious. If you help me refine a needle, would I have to sell my life for you? Ning Cheng did not hesitate, and directly took out the flood dragon skin and piled it up in the room and said, "I did not find the flood dragon core." Fortunately, Ning Cheng's reaction was extremely fast. He immediately put away the wolf demon fangs, and quickly took out a horn and said, "Because I wanted to refine a needle, so I thought that the wolf demon fangs would be better. Since Senior does not like it, I also have a horn here." Ning Cheng quickly returned the jade strip to the old woman. this junior does not dare to covet senior's cultivation method jade strip. If senior has any questions, please feel free to ask, this junior will not hide anything from you. What appeared in front of Ning Cheng's eyes was a somewhat pale face with a few wrinkles. Ning Cheng scratched his head in embarrassment and spoke, that's right, if I can refine pills by myself, wouldn't it save me a lot of trouble in the future? Ning Cheng, who was standing on the side, stared at this old woman with a slightly nervous expression. He estimated that if they were to fight, then he was afraid that he would not be a match for this old woman. If this old woman wanted to embezzle his flood dragon horn, he really couldn't do anything about it. The old woman nodded. It was obvious that she was very satisfied with Ning Cheng's attitude, and then spoke, although I am not a crafting master, but I am a pill master. If you have any pills that you need to refine, then you can come to me. At least for a year, I will not leave Nanyuan City. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to finish his words, the old woman's face sank. You want me to craft an artifact with this kind of garbage material? Are you insulting me because I'm not an armament refiner? Get out. The horn of a level 4 one-horned flood dragon. You are just a trivial chi-gathering 8th level cultivator, where did you get this kind of good thing? The old woman finished speaking, and stared at Ning Cheng. The old woman sneered, you dare to hide your cultivation in front of me with your lousy concealment technique? Bah! I am not a crafting master. The white-haired old woman slowly turned around, although her tone was old, but it was neither fast nor slow. Ning Cheng was not a fool, he already knew about this cultivation method jade piece. If he let this old woman give it to him, then wouldn't he owe her a favor in vain? Even if she wanted something, she would want something that he had not seen before. Ning Cheng was surprised for a moment. He did not think that this old woman would suddenly turn hostile. The sharp teeth of a Class 2 demon wolf were garbage. This was something that he was not willing to casually take out to sell in the artifact house. How could it be called garbage in the mouth of this old woman? First tell me what you want to refine, and then take out the materials before we talk. The old woman did not directly ask Ning Cheng for the reward. Apparently she wanted to see what Ning Cheng wanted to refine, and then talk about the price. Ning Cheng took out 2 Class 2 demon wolf's sharp teeth and said, I want to refine a. You want to learn alchemy? The old woman immediately understood Ning Cheng's idea, and asked with some disbelief. The old woman put away the jade piece with some appreciation and asked, that being the case, I will not ask you any questions. This one-horned flood dragon has just advanced to Class 4, you are just a trivial chi-gathering realm cultivator, and yet you are able to obtain this thing. It really is not simple. In addition, do you have the flood dragon skin and the flood dragon core with you? Ning Cheng in his heart despised her. If you were not a refining master, how could you help Guchang refine an artifact? He did not dare to refute this old woman, and continued, Senior can refine an artifact, for this junior you are already a refining master. This junior's request is very simple, as long as senior can help me refine an ordinary artifact. With his current cultivation level, there was no way for him to use the mysterious yellow bead's origin, and reach the non-phase realm. Ning Cheng decisively said, this junior came to ask senior to refine an artifact. If I also ask for a cultivation method jade piece, then it would be insatiable greed. Please ask senior. The old woman's eyes showed a hint of surprise. She did not continue to look at the flood dragon skin, and did not even ask about the flood dragon core, but directly asked, what do you want to refine? Seeing Ning Cheng's somewhat worried look, the old woman showed a faint smile and said, although a profound grade magic technique is good, but I do not care about it. But if you want to use the one-horned flood dragon's horn to refine the 7 Pleiades ice needle, even if you successfully refine it, the result would be barely satisfactory. This one-horned flood dragon's material is of great use to me. I have a level 4 shadowless bee stinger, which is suitable for refining a needle-shaped artifact. Why don't I refine the shadowless bee's stinger into a 7 Pleiades ice needle, and then exchange it for your one-horned flood dragon's material? The old woman did not know that Ning Cheng had such a powerful memory, and also had the ability to correct a cultivation method, so she asked with some doubts, you really don't want it? The old woman nodded, and continued, second, if you take out something that is not to my liking, then I will not help you refine an artifact. Although I am not a refining master, but I will not refine a rotten thing. Third, you have to give me a satisfactory reward, otherwise I will not help you refine an artifact. Other people would not remember some of the details, and in the process of cultivation there may be mistakes, but Ning Cheng was different, he could correct his own cultivation method. Naturally, may I ask what kind of reward does Senior want? Ning Cheng said with confidence, as long as the other party wanted a reward, then it would be easy. He still had several hundred spirit stones, so giving a reward for refining an artifact was definitely not a problem. When Ning Cheng heard this, he knew that he would definitely suffer a loss, but he did not even think about it and said, but according to Senior's instructions, this junior only needs a 7 Pleiades ice needle. When Ning Cheng heard this, he was ecstatic in his heart, he did not think that this old woman was also a pill master. When he first heard the news, he almost asked the old woman to refine a true condensation pill for him. But in the end Ning Cheng still held back his thoughts, he felt that even if he wanted to ask the old woman to refine a true condensation pill for him, he could not do it now, at least he would have to wait until he obtained the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Ning Cheng knew that the opportunity was right in front of him, and no longer exposed his own tail, and eagerly said, this junior is confident that he can definitely become a pill master, this junior does not need Senior's guidance, as long as Senior can give this junior an introductory pill refining jade strip. Just like a piece of black iron, even if it was repeatedly forged, there was no way to turn it into a piece of gold. Perhaps one day he would be able to reach the level of the mysterious yellow formless, at that time he would be able to casually use the mysterious yellow bead to modify a cultivation method into a top-grade cultivation method. But that was certainly not now. Of course, I can help you with alchemy, but you need to prepare your own spiritual grasses, I am just an old woman, I do not go out, I do not have any spiritual grasses for you. After getting the flood dragon horn and the flood dragon skin from Ning Cheng, the old woman's attitude changed greatly. Ning Cheng's heart sank, he did not even bother to answer about the flood dragon horn, as he stood up in shock and said, Senior, can you see my actual cultivation level? This junior understands, this junior is only passing through the Nan Yuan city. I will absolutely not spread Senior's name everywhere, and will not disturb Senior's meditation. Ning Cheng quickly guaranteed. Ning Cheng subconsciously shivered, this old woman was very powerful, she even knew about the 7 Pleiades ice needle. If she knew that he had the mysterious yellow bead, then wouldn't he be courting death? The meaning of doing your best is that if you really can't do it, then don't do it, right? The old woman's tone was still slow. Since ancient times, the number of cultivators who want to practice alchemy is 8 or 9 out of 10, but to become a pill master, it is very rare. Alchemy, in addition to talent and perseverance, also needs opportunities. Even if you have a pure spiritual root, even if you have amazing perseverance, without opportunities, you will not be able to become a pill master. As the old woman spoke, her tone was somewhat lonely, as if she was sighing for herself. The old woman seemed to be embarrassed to refuse Ning Cheng, as she sighed and said, since you can find this place, and want me to help you refine an artifact, that is also fine. But I have 3 conditions, the first one is that you cannot be like Gu Chang, and go around announcing that I am a refining master. Ning Cheng grabbed the jade strip, and swept it with his spiritual sense, and immediately started to sweat. After he looked at the jade strip, he realized that his previous concealment technique was garbage. That concealment cultivation method was something that he had corrected, if he had not corrected it, then it would simply be a tragic sight. But even if he corrected it to perfection, his concealment cultivation method was still congenitally deficient. I want to refine a fine needle artifact with a concealment effect, the thinner the better, at the same time this fine needle must have an ice attribute attack method, you can. Ning Cheng was no longer polite, he guessed that this old woman should not be a simple person, and simply spoke out all the characteristics of the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Ning Cheng did not dare to stare at the old woman carefully, and quickly cupped his fists and respectfully said, "This junior came to know from Guchang that senior is a refining grandmaster." After this junior saw senior's furnace flame, this junior was convinced that Guchang did not lie to me. I would like to ask senior to help me, as long as this junior's artifact is successfully refined. If senior has any instructions, this junior will definitely do his best. Ning Qing knew that although he had the golden cicada fruit, but in order to refine a true condensation pill, he would need at least 10 or 20 kinds of spiritual grasses. In a short period of time, he simply would not be able to gather these spiritual grasses. From this it could be seen that looking for this old woman to refine pills was not realistic. Chapter 53. The old woman recovered, stared at Ning Cheng and shook her head and said, "I do have the Alchemy Foundation jade piece, but I will not give it to you. I am not reluctant, but this is for your own good. Although you are dressed like an old person, but presumably you are not more than 20 years old, right? Less than 20 years old and able to cultivate to the Qi gathering 8th level, although you are not a genius, but in a place like the Ping continent, it is not easy. With your progress, in the future when you leave the Ping continent, coupled with your own efforts and some opportunities, it is not impossible for you to reach the profound core realm. If you have other distractions in your heart, and study the Tao of pills, I am afraid that in this lifetime you will only be able to reach the true condensation realm. The Tao of pills is not something that you can learn if you want to learn it. It is better to listen to my words." Ning Qing thought of his mysterious yellow bead, and spoke with some unwillingness in his heart, "Senior, I am confident that I will not delay my cultivation." The old woman smiled indifferently. Any cultivator who wants to learn alchemy, has this confidence. The Tao of pills and the Tao of tools are, in the end, minor Taos, and are also for the sake of cultivation. If not for advancing to a higher level, no one would be willing to learn alchemy. But everyone is blinded by these minor Taos. Since in the end it is for the sake of cultivation, why not put all your energy into cultivation? If one day, you look down on all the mountains, would there still be a pill master who would not dare to refine pills for you? Would there still be a weapon refiner who would not dare to refine weapons for you? When Ning Cheng heard this, his heart suddenly became fiery. It was the first time that he heard someone say that the Tao of pills was a minor Tao, and the Tao of tools was also a minor Tao. But he felt that the old woman was not wrong. If one day, he looked down on all the mountains, would there still be a pill master who would not dare to refine pills for him? But, without pills, how could he look down on all the mountains? The fiery mood that had just been ignited, once again cooled down. The old woman seemed to know Ning Cheng's thoughts, and once again spoke in a neither fast nor slow manner. In this world, the truly powerful pills are not refined by humans, but rather they are naturally grown. If one day, you can find these naturally grown spiritual objects, then they would be countless times more powerful than any pills. If one day, you can find these naturally grown spiritual objects, then they would be countless times more powerful than any other pills. Pills are just an auxiliary means for cultivation, it is not the end. What senior means is that as long as you cultivate, there is no need for alchemy. The old woman shook her head once again and said, "No, it's just that you are not suitable for alchemy. You're just a rogue cultivator. So what if your aptitude is heaven-defying?" The prerequisites for alchemy were a large number of spirit herbs for you to practice with. Secondly, you had to have an alchemy fire and an extremely good opportunity. You don't have any of them. If you just want to advance to the true condensation realm in alchemy, then you are going in the wrong direction. If you want to refine pills, you can come to me when you feel that your cultivation can no longer improve. However, I believe that at that time, you would no longer be in the mood to refine pills. Ning Qing sighed. He knew that the old woman was not wrong. He was only relying on the mysterious yellow bead, but the mysterious yellow bead could not produce innumerable spiritual grasses out of thin air. From the looks of it, even if he wanted to refine pills, he wouldn't be able to do it through this old woman. You can come back in 10 days to get the 7 Pleiades ice needle, I will definitely be able to refine it for you. The old woman saw Ning Qing bowing his head in contemplation, and did not care about what Ning Cheng was thinking, and directly issued an expulsion order. Yes, this junior will take his leave. After Ning Cheng walked out of the old woman's bungalow, he had already put aside the matter of alchemy in his heart. In any case, even if he wanted to learn alchemy now, he would not be able to refine the true condensation pill in time. If he wanted to advance to the true condensation realm, then he would have to think of a way. There were so many cultivators in the true condensation realm, but not every one of them was an alchemist. Ning Cheng did not go to the Ming Pu Plaza to test his spiritual roots, he wanted to wait until he obtained the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Moreover, after the encounter with the old woman, Ning Cheng did not have even half a shred of confidence in concealing his cultivation. He simply stayed in the rest stop, and practiced his own concealment cultivation technique. 10 days passed by in a flash. In these 10 days, Ning Cheng not only revised the concealment technique that he had obtained from the old woman, but also completely learned a new concealment technique. On the 10th day, Ning Cheng could not wait to rush to the bungalow in the alley. But he found that the bungalow's door was locked. Ning Cheng was startled in his heart. Could it be that this old woman who looked like a senior, would cheat him of his materials? This was absolutely impossible, right? Excuse me, are you looking for Auntie Gong's son to get something? A hesitant voice sounded from the opposite door of the bungalow. Ning Cheng turned around and saw an ugly-looking youth with thin lips. Yes, I am looking for Auntie Gong's son. May I ask where Auntie Gong's son went? Ning Cheng quickly replied. At the same time, he felt that the name of this Auntie Gong's son was very familiar. When he was on Earth, he had heard of this name, but he also knew that this was definitely not the same person. When this ugly-looking youth heard Ning Cheng's words, he immediately grinned, and then went into the house and took out a small wooden box and handed it to Ning Cheng and said, "When Auntie Gong's son left, she gave this to me. She said that the things that you want are inside. She hopes that you will act according to your capabilities." Ning Cheng took the jade box and thanked him, but in his heart he did not understand. He had only asked Auntie Gong's son to create a 7 Pleiades ice needle. Why would he act according to his capabilities? Although he was eager to know what his 7 Pleiades ice needle looked like, Ning Cheng still held back his excitement, and took the wooden box and rushed back to his residence. After returning to his residence, Ning Cheng first arranged a shielding array formation, and then carefully opened the wooden box. Inside the wooden box, there was a small crystal box, and next to the crystal box was a small ball of something. Ning Cheng did not care about the small ball of something next to it, and directly opened the crystal box in his hands. A thin needle that was almost invisible to the naked eye was lying inside the crystal box. Moreover, it was faintly discernible, as if it would disappear at any time. "Good needle!" Ning Cheng exclaimed. He immediately understood. This was definitely a 7 Pleiades ice needle artifact that was beyond his expectations. Ning Cheng held the needle in his hands, and a feeling of wanting to refine it welled up in his heart. Ning Cheng did not hesitate, and immediately closed his eyes, and began to refine the needle in his hands. A day later, Ning Cheng once again opened his eyes in surprise. The needle in his hands had disappeared. The needle was now stuck in his sleeves, and was completely connected to his mind. At this moment Ning Cheng absolutely did not believe that this old woman was not a refining master. The level of this needle was much higher than his flying sword. This was simply a best quality artifact. A person who could refine a best quality artifact, how could she not be a refining master? Ning Cheng was so happy, that he even forgot that there was a small ball of something inside the wooden box, and was constantly practicing the 7 Pleiades ice needle technique with the needle in his hands. It was not until he was very hungry, that he discovered that a day had passed by. Ning Cheng was pleasantly surprised in his heart, with this needle. Once he faced an enemy, he could use the 36 profound ice swords and this 7 Pleiades ice needle technique. Even if it was a true condensation cultivator, under the circumstances of his sneak attack, he estimated that it would be very difficult for them to escape. Today, he finally had some ability to protect himself. Ning Cheng was even more grateful to the old woman. Even if it was Gu Fei, Ning Cheng felt that he was worth more than the 10 chi gathering stones. Even if it was 2 spirit stones, it would still be too little. Ning Cheng put away the 7 Pleiades ice needle technique, and was ready to go out to eat something, when he remembered that there was another item inside the wooden box. He quickly picked up the small ball of something, and shook it a bit, and found that it was a very thin inner armor. Ning Cheng was the first to recognize it. It was a defensive armor made from the skin of the one-horned flood dragon. At the same time, he also understood what was going on. The old woman must have felt that there was a lot of dragon skin, so she simply helped him refine an inner armor. Ning Cheng took off his outer robe, and after refining the inner armor and putting it on, he felt incomparably comfortable. His heart was filled with gratitude towards the old woman. Ning Cheng did not throw away the empty wooden box. In his view, it was tantamount to owing the old woman a favor. Originally, the other party didn't have to give him the inner armor, but he did. At the same time, Ning Cheng also felt that when the old woman said that he should not learn alchemy at this time, it was not without reason. The Ming Pu Plaza was located on the periphery of the Clear Heart Academy, and belonged to the Clear Heart Academy and the Ming Yi country. Not only was there a huge public square here, but it was also the best testing ground for spiritual roots in the entire Ming Yi country. Normally, coming to the Ming Pu Plaza to test one's spiritual root would cost a lot of gold coins, but for the past few months, it didn't even cost a single gold coin. All the people could take the test for free, because in these few months the Clear Heart Academy would be recruiting students. In the past few days, the number of people in the Ming Pu Plaza had been increasing, and today it was even more crowded. Almost all the cultivators, as well as many people from the Nanyuan city had already arrived here. Because today was the day that the Clear Heart Academy would be recruiting students, as long as one's spiritual root met the requirements, and passed the test, then one could enter the Clear Heart Academy. Ning Cheng followed the crowd of people into the Ming Pu Plaza's spiritual root testing hall. Today he had already removed the cultivator's hat that covered his face. But under his deliberate dressing, he looked even older, and even his beard looked like it had experienced the vicissitudes of life. Because today was the day that the Clear Heart Academy was selecting students, so there were not many people in the spiritual root testing hall. Most of the people had already tested for their spiritual roots. Ning Cheng had already seen the spiritual root testing artifact. He directly went to the front of the spiritual root testing artifact, and said to the person in charge of the testing, "I want to test for my spiritual root. Put your hand on the groove, and circulate some qi." The person in charge of the spiritual root testing artifact weakly said. Ning Cheng did not speak much, and directly put his hand on the test groove, and simultaneously circulated some qi into it. 4 thin yellow lines rose from the crystal pillar. The 4 lines rose very slowly, but they did not stop. Ning Cheng had already taken his hand away when the 4 thin lines had risen to 3 or 4 feet. The person in charge of testing the spiritual roots simply did not care about Ning Cheng's petty actions, as he lazily threw out a wooden card and spoke, "For line hybrid support spiritual roots, you are qualified to enter. Many thanks. May I ask what are the 4 spiritual roots that I possess?" Ning Cheng's heart was pounding, as he quickly grabbed the jade card and thanked him before asking. Only he knew in his heart that he originally had a 3-elemental hybrid support spiritual root, but after half a year, he actually had a 4-elemental hybrid support spiritual root. This spiritual root tester swept a disdainful glance at Ning Cheng and spoke, "If you are qualified, then you do not need to ask about these things. I'm only responsible for testing whether you have the qualifications to enter or not. You're just barely qualified to enter the academy's gates." What he meant was, your spirit root is so trashy, and you still have the face to ask what kind of spirit root it is. Chapter 54. Ah! This red-robed girl did not seem to think that she would be secretly loved by a handsome man. Although she did not know Ning Cheng, but hearing Ning Cheng's words made her feel a sense of satisfaction. The most important thing was that this handsome man was from the medicinal liquid division. Ning Cheng was happy in his heart. He was thinking about which direction he should go to find an E, when suddenly a faintly discernible gaze swept over him. This gaze contained a trace of cold killing intent, which almost made Ning Cheng's body stiffen. After the noise from below subsided a little, Lan Yinyu once again said, because the 5-star academies are very strict in recruiting disciples, not only do they need to have excellent spiritual roots, but they also need to have formidable strength. Although the people who come here are the most outstanding people from my Ping continent, but only 50 of them can go to the Hua continent. The people who can really be selected by the 5-star academies are less than 10. As Lan Yinyu finished speaking, immediately nearly 3,000 people entered the first colored line. Ning Cheng finally understood what the use of the colored line was. It was originally used to select the students. The reason why Ji Luofei's aunt was able to find him and Ji Luofei was not because of luck, but because his aunt was an essence-building cultivator, and could release her spiritual consciousness to a very long distance. Just when Ning Cheng was extremely anxious, a girl wearing a pink robe came from afar. Her cultivation was at the Qi gathering 6th level. Ning Cheng did not even think for half a moment, and greeted her with a face full of surprise. "Senior apprentice sister, I really did not expect to find you here. My name is Su Zhu, are you really from the medicinal liquid division?" The red-robed girl's blush faded a little, but her eyes still had a hint of spring in them. But the tone of her voice had a hint of surprise in it, letting people know that the medicinal liquid division was very popular. Lan Yinyu did not forget to comfort the majority of the students who came to the Clear Heart Academy. Some of these students had already been away for nearly half a year. If they did not even have the opportunity to be selected, they would certainly be very unhappy. Ning Cheng finally understood that there was an array formation at the entrance of the academy. He picked up the wooden card in his hand and looked at it. It really was the simplest array formation flag. His simple array formation flag was engraved with 4 thin lines. Presumably it meant that he had 4 support spiritual roots. "Do you really have a good relationship with senior apprentice brother Wenguang?" At this time Su Zhu's expression was not as simple as being surprised, but was even a bit flattered. Such a character like Ning Cheng unexpectedly had a crush on her. Of the 3,000 students in the first colored line, only 100 or so students walked into the second colored line. Ning Cheng gave out a sigh. Although he did not have a main spiritual root, his 4 support spiritual roots had already exceeded 4 feet. There were more and more people in the Ming Pu Plaza, as more and more people had entered the Clear Heart Academy. Ning Cheng followed the crowd to the entrance of the Clear Heart Academy, but found that these people were only holding the wooden card in their hands, and no one was checking it. He was just thinking that entering the Clear Heart Academy did not require a wooden card, when he saw several people directly flying out of the entrance. 46th. Stop dreaming. In the Clear Heart Academy, in addition to these disciples with pure spiritual roots, there were also 10 core disciples. In addition to the 10 core disciples, there were also some disciples with very high qualifications. It's already not bad for us to have 30 participants. In just a twinkling of an eye, Ning Cheng understood what was going on, while simultaneously cursing himself for being stupid. This was not a gaze, but a divine sense. This was the Clear Heart 3-star Academy. Obviously there were essence-building cultivators here. Essence-building cultivators could release their divine sense outwards, but he was alone and did not go to the Academy's plaza, but instead appeared in this place. This was already suspicious. With so many people crowded in the huge plaza, Ning Cheng did not need to hide himself, and absolutely no one would notice him. After waiting for more than half an hour, the people on the rostrum came up one after another. Ning Cheng soon saw Lan Yinyu. Lan Yinyu was walking in the middle, indicating that her status in the Clear Heart Academy could only be regarded as medium. A variety of discussions arose. No one thought that with so many people competing for the 50 spots, even if there were not a few people with pure spiritual roots, would it even be their turn. Ning Cheng quickly said, "Senior apprentice sister, I am Ning Xiao Cheng from the medicinal liquid division. The last time I saw you from afar, it was hard for me to forget. This time our Clear Heart Academy wants to bring the students with excellent qualifications to the Hua continent, but I did not see senior apprentice sister in the plaza." So I was afraid that senior apprentice sister would go to the Hua continent, and later I would not even have the opportunity to speak, so I thickened my face to look for senior apprentice sister. At the same time Ning Cheng also noticed that in front of the rostrum in the Clear Heart Academy's plaza, there were 3 open spaces. These 3 open spaces were divided according to 3 different colored lines. All the people who came to the plaza stood outside of these 3 colored lines. No one dared to stand inside the colored lines in front of the rostrum. This person who was testing the spiritual roots obviously did not stop there, and was still chattering behind Ning Cheng's back. You think you are the Yu clan's brother and sister, Ba. The Clear Heart Academy did not seem to be bigger than the Tsang Qin Academy. After Ning Cheng entered the academy, he immediately felt the difference between this place and the Tsang Qin Academy. The spiritual qi here was a lot denser than the Tsang Qin Academy. It seems that there should be a spiritual gathering array formation around the periphery of the Clear Heart Academy. The spiritual qi around the Nanyuan city was also absorbed by the Clear Heart Academy. With that, Su Zhu unexpectedly took the initiative to hold Ning Cheng's hand. Ning Cheng carefully squeezed out of the crowd, and slowly left the plaza. Everyone calmed down. This time, in addition to choosing 50 people to go to the Hua continent, our Clear Heart Academy also needs to recruit students. This time we want to recruit 1,000 students, so everyone has a chance. Ning Cheng did not think that there would be such a proactive girl. This was too easy to seduce. Fortunately, to his relief, the faintly discernible spiritual consciousness behind him finally disappeared. The plaza once again became incomparably quiet. All the people were thinking in their hearts, even if they did not have the opportunity to go to the 5-star academies of the Hua continent, staying in the Clear Heart 3-star academy would also be good. After all the people sat down, the one who stood up and spoke was unexpectedly Lan Yinyu. Lan Yinyu walked to the front of the rostrum, and swept her eyes over the densely packed people in the plaza, and said in a crisp voice, I believe that the most outstanding people in the entire Ping continent have gathered here at this time. I think a lot of people already know that this time my Clear Heart Academy is not recruiting students individually. That's right, this time our Clear Heart Academy is recruiting students for the 5-star academies of the Hua continent. In the entire Ping continent, there are 2 geniuses like Yu Yuan Hua and Yu Ying. Isn't it already heaven-defying? How could there be a third one? Your example is not appropriate. Someone from the side immediately retorted. Ning Cheng's face did not turn red and his heart did not jump as he said those words. Only then did he discover that the girl in front of him was unexpectedly not ugly. Not only was she not ugly, her face was even rosy, and even her eyes had a trace of spring in them. Ning Cheng was not in the mood to listen to this person's nonsense, and quickly walked out of the spiritual root testing hall. Most of the people from the Clear Heart Academy had already gone to the Academy's plaza. Ning Cheng was already far away from the Academy's plaza, but unexpectedly did not meet a single person. Actually, I still do not know what his senior apprentice sister's name. When Ning Cheng said those words, he could feel that the spiritual consciousness behind him was still circling around his body. In the Clear Heart Academy, Ning Cheng only knew about the medicinal liquid division. Otherwise, he would definitely not have said that he was from the medicinal liquid division. Now that Su Zhu asked, he hurriedly affirmed and said, of course, my relationship with senior apprentice brother Yin Wenguang is very good, moreover I have received a lot of pointers from senior apprentice brother Yin Wenguang. Everyone knew that this was the reality. If the Hua continent's 5-star academies were so easy to enter, then they would not be called as 5-star academies. Ning Cheng did not pay any attention to this spiritual root testing fellow. Arguing with this kind of person was simply a waste of his saliva. But everyone should not be discouraged. My Ping continent has many outstanding people. It is not that there are no top-level outstanding disciples. In the Ping continent, there are several 3-star academies, but I am sure that none of them are as strong as our Clear Heart Academy. Because we have already found 4 disciples with pure spiritual roots, which also includes 2 disciples with main spiritual roots. Even if it is the Hua continent's 5-star academies, they would not dare to say that they have 2 disciples with main spiritual roots. I invite those with main spiritual roots, and those with no more than 3 support spiritual roots to walk into the first colored line. Lan Yinyu's words once again caused a sensation. There were all kinds of emotions, envy, jealousy. Walking in the front was a man wearing a gray robe with a square face. His appearance was rough and wild, and looked very reckless. Ning Qing knew that this was definitely only on the surface. This person walking in the front, maybe he was the dean of the Clear Heart Academy. At his side was a very elegant middle-aged man. In Ning Cheng's view, these two people's cultivations were far beyond Lan Yinyu's. After the rostrum was filled with people, Ning Cheng frowned. He did not see an E. Despite this, Ning Cheng was not anxious. Because he did not see the rest of the students, he also did not see the last student with the gold spiritual root. This kind of student selection event was often seen in any academy, but the scale of the Clear Heart Academy this time was relatively large. Ning Cheng had already participated in this event before, and had already squeezed himself into a corner. He just wanted to see if an E was alright. In this kind of occasion, with an Yi's spiritual root, she was certainly qualified to appear. Ning Cheng was not interested in watching the selection. He knew that this selection was still a process. At this time most of the people in the Clear Heart Academy were watching the selection of disciples. It was time for him to look for an E. Even if a lot of the people who came here already knew that this person was from the Hua Continent's 5-star academy, now that they heard Lan Yinyu once again confirm it, everyone was still very enthusiastic. It seemed that they would soon be selected to go to the Hua Continent. You do not have a wooden plaque and you dare to enter the Clear Heart Academy, get lost. One of the guards at the entrance of the academy sneered and scolded. This girl apparently did not think that someone would suddenly stop her. She looked at Ning Cheng, who she did not know, and was somewhat stunned. Ning Cheng guessed that this was another rule that he did not know, but fortunately he was the same as many people, and did not come here to participate in the selection. Standing together with the majority of the people, there would not be a problem. Ning Cheng was secretly feeling lucky in his heart. If he had not obtained the help of the mysterious yellow bead, then there would be no way for him to know that someone was using their spiritual consciousness to scan him. So to say, when the Clear Heart Academy is selecting disciples, wouldn't it be enough to select 46 people? Those who did not enter the first colored line do not have to worry, there will be a supplementary selection. Now I would like to invite those with a yellow main spiritual root, and those who have reached 5 feet, to enter the second colored line. Ning Cheng immediately said, "Yes, my qualifications are very ordinary. I was afraid that you would leave the Clear Heart Academy, so I hurriedly came to find you. It really is fate, I did not expect to see you here." Chapter 55. Su Zhu took Ning Cheng's hand and turned a few corners, before entering the dormitory area. There were almost no students here. Su Zhu suddenly moved her body closer to Ning Cheng. A woman's fragrance and softness assaulted him, making Ning Cheng subconsciously move aside. "Why do you like me?" Su Zhu came closer, her tone was somewhat sticky. Although Ning Cheng had been in love before, but he had never taken advantage of Tian Mu Wan, it can be said that he only had a limited understanding of the matters between men and women, but had never really done it. Su Zhu's touch, Ning Cheng, who was at the prime of his youth, immediately felt his body temperature rise. But Ning Cheng instantly restrained his desire, and at the same time came to a sudden realization in his heart. When he first saw Su Zhu's face was somewhat red, and there were some tears in the corners of her eyes. It should be because she had just had a good time with a man. Ning Cheng did not need to ask, he knew that Su Zhu's private life was extremely rotten. Others were paying attention to the selection of the 5-star academies, but she was hiding in her room with other people. Giggle. Feeling Ning Cheng's unfamiliarity with this kind of thing, Su Zhu giggled, and her heart became more and more itchy. Ning Cheng looked somewhat vicissitudes of life, and even had a beard, but his age was not that old. Moreover, his slightly vicissitudes of life was even more attractive to her, plus Ning Cheng's aura was also extremely clean. She did not know how many cultivators she had experienced, but none of them were as clean as Ning Cheng. Besides, she had never been with this kind of man who was secretly in love with her. Moreover, he was the most attractive person in the Clear Heart Academy's medicinal branch. If she established a relationship with this Ning Xiaocheng, then she could also look for the people in the medicinal branch to refine some spiritual liquids. Let's go to my room. Su Zhu's tone was somewhat urgent, as if she could not wait any longer. Ning Qing quickly said, "Yes, Senior Apprentice Sister Su Zhu, do all the female disciples of the Clear Heart Academy live here?" Su Zhu obviously did not care about this topic, and just casually said, "No, from here we go inside." She had not even finished speaking, when 3 people came over. Ning Qing saw these 3 people and immediately became happy. He had seen these 3 people before. Walking on both sides were Lu Shui and Yong Gu Yun, and walking in the middle was unexpectedly the girl wearing the cloth skirt. But at this time her clothes were no longer a cloth skirt, but a purple dress. When the 3 people saw Ning Qing and Su Zhu snuggling together, they were simultaneously shocked. "It's you, Ning Qing." Lu Shui immediately called out in shock. The reason why she was shocked was because she knew a bit about the inside story of Ning Qing's disappearance. Yong Gu Yun was even more shocked. She knew a bit more than Lu Shui, and vaguely knew that Ning Qing had disappeared because Lan Yinyu had forced Ning Qing off the airship. Ning Qing was at the Qi gathering 4th level. If he was thrown down from the sky, then he would undoubtedly die. So why was he still here? Because Ning Qing was still here, the 2 of them even put aside the matter of Ning Qing and Su Zhu snuggling together. When the girl in the cloth robe saw Ning Qing, her face showed a pleasantly surprised expression. She felt somewhat guilty towards Ning Qing. Later, she asked her big brother to look for Ning Qing, but he was not found. She had already heard from her elder brother that Ning Qing wanted that pair of pearl hair clips because he missed his younger sister. She did it purely because she liked him, and because she liked him, she took away his longing for his sister. She also heard from her brother that this person would never see his sister again. "You also came here." The girl wearing the cloth skirt was the first to come forward and greet Ning Qing. When Lu Shui and Yong Gu Yun heard the words of the cloth-robed young girl, they immediately reacted. The faces of the 2 of them changed at the same time. They immediately stepped forward and pulled the cloth-robed young girl. Yong Gu Yun anxiously said, "Junior Apprentice Sister Yuing, how do you know him?" When Ning Qing heard the words of Yong Gu Yun, he came to understand. Originally the 2 geniuses of the pure spiritual roots that appeared in the Clear Heart Academy were this cloth-robed girl and her simple and honest elder brother. Since she was called Yuing, then her brother must be called Yu Yuanhua. After Su Zhu saw Lu Shui and Yong Gu Yun, her face turned slightly pale, and immediately let go of Ning Qing, and called out, "Su Zhu greets Senior Apprentice Sister Lu Shui, greets Senior Apprentice Sister Yong Gu Yun." Yong Gu Yun's face was gloomy, but she did not pay any attention to Su Zhu. Lu Shui coldly said, "Su Zhu, you leave first, there is nothing for you to do here. If you want to look for Ning Qing, then wait for him to finish his business, and then go look for him." Su Zhu looked at Ning Qing, and then gave a slight bow to Lu Shui and Yong Gu Yun, and then quickly walked away from the side. Although Yong Gu Yun also had the cultivation of Qi gathering 8th level, but she did not have spiritual sense, and Lu Shui's cultivation was even lower. The 2 of them did not know that Su Zhu did not go far. She just turned a corner, and hid at the foot of the wall. Ning Qing had spiritual sense, but did not waste it to sense Su Zhu. Seeing Su Zhu go far away, Yong Gu Yun softly said to Yuing, "Junior Apprentice Sister Yuing, do you know who that woman was?" Yuing doubtfully shook her head. In her heart she thought that the person who had just left had nothing to do with her. "She is a slut from the Clear Heart Academy. In the Clear Heart Academy there are countless men. She is incomparably dirty. The person you know is called Ning Qing. He likes to be together with beautiful women. Before our academy's junior apprentice Sister An was almost deceived by him. Fortunately, junior apprentice Sister An met Lu Shui in time, and avoided a disaster. Otherwise, my Clear Heart Academy would only have 3 disciples with pure spiritual roots. So, he definitely has a purpose for getting close to you." you should not be fooled by his flowery words. Yong Gu Yun mercilessly said in front of Ning Cheng. In Yong Gu Yun's view, Ning Cheng was far from being handsome. He was able to deceive an Yi into being dead set on him, completely because of his flowery words. From this, it could be seen that junior apprentice sister Yuing might also have been deceived because of such a thing. As for Ning Cheng and Su Zhu mixing together, it was because they were originally the same kind of people. Lu Shui also added a sentence of approval. What senior apprentice sister Gu Yun said is right, that Su Zhu really has countless gigolos. Saying that, Lu Shui once again looked at Ning Cheng and spoke, Ning Cheng, the truth is that I really did not have any bad feelings towards you before, but when I saw this scene today, it really disappointed me. Su Zhu's eyes were tinged with lust, and her face was a little red. Don't say that you didn't do anything with her. Everyone is well aware of these things, and I didn't want to say it. But, I really don't want you to have contact with junior apprentice sister An Yi. You know it in your heart, you and An Yi are two different kinds of people. When Su Zhu, who was hiding on the side, heard this, her face turned pale, and her whole body trembled. She and Ning Cheng were really innocent. When she knew that Ning Cheng liked her, her heart was really a little excited. Because among the people that she had contact with in the Clear Heart Academy, none of them really liked her, all of them just wanted to get on top of her. Originally when she brought Ning Cheng to her room, she really wanted to go to bed with Ning Cheng, and then use Ning Cheng to get some spiritual liquid. Later when she saw that Ning Cheng was a virgin, her heart even moved a little. Originally she had been deceiving herself, but at this time she knew how unbearable she was in the eyes of others. Ah! Yu Ying's face showed a look of disbelief. She and Ning Cheng knew each other, it was completely unintentional. No, it did not seem to be unintentional. She remembered, it seemed that she had first seen a pearl hair clip, and then this person called Ning Cheng took the initiative to go up and buy the pearl hair clip. That's right, later she heard from her big brother, that he bought the pearl hair clip and did not leave, but stayed in front of the original booth for a long time. Did he know that her big brother wanted to go? And then take this opportunity to get close to her? If that was the case, then this person's scheming mind was too terrible. That little bit of guilt that she felt towards Ning Cheng, also faded away. Ning Cheng's face sank, and said in a cold voice, I do not know what kind of person Su Zhu is, but I only know that she talks about people behind their backs, and is not a clean person. Even if Su Zhu had innumerable gigolos, what does it have to do with you? If I become friends with Su Zhu, then I become friends with An Yi, what does it have to do with you? I am happy to do it, is it not okay? You want me to become friends with you, but I am not happy, is that okay? Ning Cheng in his heart looked down on Su Zhu, this kind of person who lived a rotten life, but he hated this Yong Gu Yun in front of him even more. You are courting death. Yong Gu Yun's face changed, the flying sword on her waist appeared in her hands, while her killing intent filled the air. Ning Cheng was very unhappy in his heart. If it was outside, he would have already chopped her with his sword. A trivial Yong Gu Yun was not even enough for him to casually kill her with his sword. Senior apprentice sister Yong, don't do it. Yuing quickly stepped forward to stop Yong Gu Yun. Yong Gu Yun seemed to be very concerned about Yu Ying's intentions. Seeing Yuing step forward, she also gave her face, and did not continue to step forward. Seeing that Yong Gu Yun did not continue to step forward, Yuing was relieved, and quickly said to Ning Cheng, this elder brother, my elder brother said that you are a good person. Although my elder brother does not encounter many things, but he is not a person without experience. You are not a person from the Clear Heart Academy. If you are not here to participate in the selection for the Clear Heart Academy, then you better get out of here. Ning Cheng did not come here to fight, of course he would not continue to provoke Yong Gu Yun. Now that Yuing spoke, he quickly said, this junior apprentice sister, I want to look for my cousin An Yi, do you know where she is? You dare to look for An Yi, I will immediately tell Master Lan, and you will never be able to walk out of the Clear Heart Academy. Yong Gu Yun said in a stern voice. Yuing hurriedly said before Ning Cheng could speak, Senior Apprentice and E has already gone to the Academy's plaza, I think she is now on the rostrum, you will be able to see her. Ning Qing guessed that he and an E should have missed each other, he quickly cupped his fists towards Yu Ying and thanked her, then turned around and quickly left. He was now exposed. If an E was safe and sound, then he would immediately leave the Nanyuan city, otherwise for every minute, it would be even more dangerous. Once Yong Guyun passed on the news that he had appeared in the Nanyuan city to Lan Yinyu, then he would not be able to leave. Seeing Ning Qing quickly leave, Yong Guyun said in a somewhat complaining voice, Junior Apprentice Sister Yuing, next time you meet this kind of shameless lecher, you must not be soft-hearted. Otherwise, you will always suffer a loss. This kind of person is despicable and shameless, I do not know how many innocent young girls he has ruined. Yu Ying's face turned slightly red and said, I know, Senior Apprentice Sister Yong. Thank you a moment ago, for giving me face. Yong Guyun smiled and said, he did not go looking for an E, once he dares to look for an E, then he would only be courting death. The last time Master Lan tried to kill him, I do not know how he managed to escape, this time he went to look for an E, Master Lan just happened to be there, how could he just walk away? Chapter 56. Yu Ying was surprised as she looked at Yong Guyun, she did not think that although Yong Guyun did not do it herself, but was actually counting on Lan Shi to kill Ning Qing, should she go and call Ning Qing back. Lu Shui had not directly clashed with Ning Qing, one was because Ning Qing and Lu Buhong knew each other, as such she did not want to go too far, at least she did not want to do it in front of Ning Qing. Moreover, she knew that an E was very dependent on Ning Qing in her heart. So the news of Ning Qing's death, she did not tell an E. But she did not expect that not only did Ning Qing not die, but he was also like a plaster, and followed her all the way to the Nanyuan city. At this time she saw Yu Ying's expression, and quickly said, Junior Apprentice Sister Yu Ying, in fact Senior Apprentice Sister Gu Yun did not do anything wrong. A person like Ning Qing, if left alive, would indeed cause the death of many innocent girls. Take you for example, if you had not entered the Clear Heart Academy, perhaps you would have been cheated by him. Yu Ying's face turned slightly red, but this time she did not refute. If her big brother found Ning Qing, then maybe she would really go to Ning Qing to thank him. Wouldn't they get to know each other after a while? What's more, she did not have even the slightest bit of antipathy towards Ning Qing. On the contrary, Ning Qing's slightly weathered aura made her appreciate him even more. Ning Qing sped up, and soon arrived at the grand public square, while simultaneously squeezing into the crowd. This time Ning Qing was able to see clearly, he saw an E sitting at the edge of the rostrum, in addition to an E, there were also Yu Hongfeng and Yu Yuanhua. Compared to Yu Yuanhua and Yu Hongfeng, an E looked somewhat haggard, she was sitting there with her head bowed down, as if she was thinking about something very heavy. But Ning Qing actually felt relieved, an E was already at the Qi gathering 6th level, once a pure spiritual root was specially cultivated, the speed of advancement was really incomparably fast. Ning Qing was aware of his own situation, if he did not have hundreds of spirit stones, and also found a spiritual spring, then he absolutely would not have been able to advance to the Qi gathering 8th level in just half a year. From this it could be seen that an E definitely had a pure wood spiritual root without a doubt, moreover her status was also not bad. At least he did not have to worry about an E anymore. Ning Qing sighed, he did not continue to stay here, but turned around and sped up towards the door. As long as an E truly had a pure spiritual root, then an Yi's future path would definitely be smooth, he did not need to worry about it. From now on, he only needed to take care of himself. Ning Qing had not yet reached the door when he stopped. He saw that the main door was already closed, and there was only one side door to go out. The two people who wanted to go out were stopped by the guard. Ning Qing could see from afar that the two people who were stopped by the guards were talking to them for a long time, but in the end they still turned around bitterly. Two friends, are we not allowed to go out from here? Ning Qing quickly stopped the two people and asked. If you are not from the Clear Heart Academy, you will have to wait until the selection is over before you can leave. One of them said to Ning Cheng in a bad mood. He could see that Ning Cheng was not from the Clear Heart Academy. Ning Cheng's heart sank. He was just thinking of a way to get out of this place, when suddenly a crisp voice arrived. Ning Xiao Cheng, let's go, come out with me. Ning Cheng turned around and saw Su Zhu's extremely bright smile. He immediately felt happy in his heart, and quickly said, of course. Su Zhu naturally pulled Ning Cheng's hand, and took a few steps forward, and when they were almost at the door, she said, you know what? Senior apprentice sister Lu Shui asked me to help her purchase some things from the Fian Pill Pavilion. Let me tell you, senior apprentice sister Lu Shui will definitely be able to go to the Hua continent, maybe she will even be selected by a 5-star academy. As long as senior apprentice sister Lu Shui is selected by a 5-star academy, in the future when she comes back, she will absolutely not forget me. Ning Cheng was somewhat baffled. He was sure that Lu Shui would not let Su Zhu buy things for her. Lu Shui's attitude towards Su Zhu was simply disgusting. How could she let Su Zhu help her buy things? At this time the two people had already arrived at the door. Su Zhu did not wait for the guard to speak, and took the initiative to greet them with a smile. Big brother Han, there are a lot of people here today, you should be very tired. That's right, I have something to do. The guard had seen Su Zhu before, but he did not think that Su Zhu would know that his surname was Han, and quickly replied, it's not hard, you take care. While the guard was talking, Su Zhu had already pulled Ning Cheng out of the Clear Heart Academy's gate. Su Zhu's footsteps were very fast. She quickly brought Ning Cheng through the Mingpu Plaza. Ning Cheng already understood that Su Zhu was helping him, and bringing him out of the Clear Heart Academy. Although Ning Cheng did not know how Su Zhu knew that he was going to leave the Clear Heart Academy, but he was still very grateful in his heart, and even somewhat embarrassed said, Senior apprentice sister Su, I am actually not from the Clear Heart Academy. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to finish, Su Zhu interrupted Ning Cheng's words and said, let's not talk about these things, you should hurry up and go. I heard Yong Guyun say that she wanted to inform Teacher Lan. Ning Cheng did not explain again. He cupped his fists and said, many thanks Senior Apprentice Sister Su. If Senior Apprentice Sister Su can abandon the chores and cultivate in peace, then you may not necessarily be unable to advance to the true condensation realm. This is my thanks to Senior Apprentice Sister, I'll take my leave first. Saying that, Ning Cheng put a small package into Su Zhu's hands, turned around and quickly disappeared. Su Zhu looked at Ning Cheng's disappearing back, and her face suddenly showed a trace of loneliness. How could she not know what Ning Cheng meant by abandoning the chores and cultivating in peace? She suddenly remembered the time when she had just arrived at the Clear Heart Academy. She had been deceived by people, slept with people, and then smashed the jar. The result was that she was looked down upon more and more. For her, she still had a year's time. If she could not advance to the Qi Gathering 7th level within a year, then she would no longer be a student of the Clear Heart Academy. Su Zhu's heart suddenly felt empty. Even she did not know why she wanted to help Ning Cheng. Perhaps Ning Cheng had helped her by saying a few words. She looked down at the small package in her hands. Suddenly a faint spiritual qi was emitting from the package. Su Zhu's heart tightened, and quickly opened the package to take a look. When she saw the contents of the package, she was immediately shocked. The small package unexpectedly contained more than a dozen spirit stones. Teacher Lan, I just saw that Ning Cheng, he seemed to have come to the Clear Heart Academy. I guess that he was looking for an E. After Yong Guyun came to the plaza, she found a free time, and quickly reported the news of Ning Cheng's arrival to Lan Yinyu. What? Lan Yinyu asked in a surprised voice. She had personally forced Ning Cheng to jump out of the airship. How could he possibly appear in the Clear Heart Academy? He was a cultivator at the Qi Gathering 4th level, jumping from a high-altitude airship. How could he possibly survive? Are you sure you didn't see wrong? Lan Yinyu asked in a calm tone. This was simply impossible. How could it happen? I did not see wrong. Junior apprentice sister Lu Shui also saw him. Moreover, he clearly stated that he was looking for junior apprentice sister An. This person also knows Yu Ying. if not for Yuing coming to the Clear Heart Academy earlier, perhaps she would have been cheated by him. I have already arranged for junior apprentice sister Lu Shui to see where he is now. Yong Guyun calmly replied. Lan Yinyu's eyes flashed with a trace of killing intent, but she forcibly restrained it. Teacher Lan, Su Zhu just brought Ning Cheng out of the Clear Heart Academy. Do you want to bring Su Zhu along? Lu Shui hurriedly came over. She had been ordered by Yong Guyun to keep an eye on Ning Cheng, but she did not think that Ning Cheng would be brought out of the Clear Heart Academy by Su Zhu. The killing intent in Lan Yinyu's eyes became even more intense. After a while she slowly said, "Tell Xuezong, let him temporarily postpone killing that Miao Li Hu from the Mingot city. At the same time, tell Miao Li Hu that Ning Cheng had appeared in the Nanyuan city, and was now about to leave the city. After Miao Li Hu kills Ning Cheng, Xuezong only needs to kill Miao Li Hu." I understand. Yong Guyun glanced at the depressed An, and quickly walked out. She knew the purpose of Teacher Lan's actions. An was too dependent on Ning Cheng and missed him too much. If one day in the future An came to know that it was Teacher Lan who killed Ning Cheng, perhaps she would turn against Teacher Lan. Teacher Lan should not have known that An was so dependent on Ning Cheng. Now that she knew, she decided to kill him with a borrowed knife. If Miao Li Hu killed Ning Cheng, then Xuezong would kill Miao Li Hu. In this way, An would only be grateful to Xuezong for helping her take revenge. Chapter 57. Ning Cheng rushed out of the Nanyuan city with his fastest speed. After coming out of the Nanyuan city, Ning Cheng finally felt relieved. To be honest, he really wasn't afraid of that Lan Yinyu. Although Lan Yinyu was already at true condensation 8th level, but from the mouth of Fang Jian, Ning Cheng already knew that. Because of the lack of spiritual qi and resources in the Ping continent, the cultivation methods of the Ping continent were inherently flawed, and their spiritual sense was much weaker. In other words, although Lan Yinyu was at true condensation 8th level, but the fact was that her true cultivation level was not even at true condensation 8th level. Ning Cheng was afraid of the essence-building realm cultivator from the Clear Heart Academy. Once he was blocked by the essence-building realm cultivator in the Nanyuan city, then he really would not be able to escape. According to Ning Cheng's thoughts, as long as he left the Nanyuan city, then it would be equivalent to being safe. He would look for a place where there was no one around, and then use his flying sword to fly towards the Dawn Forest. Then through the Dawn Forest, he would enter the Yuan continent. Ning Cheng had just left the Nanyuan city, when he felt that he was being watched. Ning Cheng quickened his pace, but in his heart there was not much worry. If he was targeted by an essence-building realm cultivator, then even if he wanted to escape, he would not be able to. If a true condensation cultivator were to target him, then he simply did not need to be afraid. In Ning Cheng's view, an essence-building realm cultivator would absolutely not be bored enough to stalk a qi-gathering cultivator like him. In a place like Nanyuan City, the possibility of such a thing happening was almost zero. An hour later, the people behind Ning Cheng suddenly sped up. At this time Ning Cheng could clearly see who was stalking him. It was the Mingot City's Wolf Palace's Miao Li Hu. He knew that Miao Li Hu hated him to the bone, but he didn't think that this person was so persistent that he even chased him all the way to Nanyuan City. Fortunately, An was highly valued in the Clear Heart Academy, otherwise An would have been in danger. Half a year ago, he could not clearly see Miao Li Hu's cultivation level, but now he could clearly see that Miao Li Hu's cultivation level was at true condensation 4th level. A true condensation 4th level cultivator was not even able to step on a flying sword. Ning Cheng really did not put Miao Li Hu in his eyes. For him, Miao Li Hu had come at the right time. He could try out the power of the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Little bastard, even if you run again, I will burn you to ashes and bury you with my son. Miao Li Hu, on seeing Ning Cheng unexpectedly stop, immediately flew in front of Ning Cheng and shouted out in a ferocious voice. In his view, Ning Cheng should have been scared silly. Ning Cheng unhurriedly said, "Miao Li Hu, you can strut around in the Mingot city, but here, you are not qualified to be arrogant. What I don't understand is, how did you know that I just left the city? Could it be that someone sent you a letter? When Miao Li Hu saw that Ning Cheng was not scared stiff, but rather spoke slowly, he was immediately stunned. However, he immediately reacted and said sternly, "Go to hell." As he spoke, a blood-colored rainbow shot out from his hand towards Ning Cheng. He hated Ning Cheng to the bone and really did not want to wait any longer. Buzz! The blood-red light streaked across the air, bringing with it an extremely miserable buzzing sound, almost completely sealing off the space around Ning Cheng. The originally clear sky immediately became gloomy as Miao Li Hu's blood-red rainbow streaked across. It was as if there were countless wronged spirits, spewing a bloody mist towards Ning Cheng. Under this bloody mist, Ning Cheng was even somewhat in a trance. He clearly knew that he should quickly get out of the way, but being shrouded in this bloody mist that covered the sky, unexpectedly made him feel somewhat at a loss. The mysterious yellow bead emitted a mysterious yellow aura, which made the bloody mist that covered Ning Cheng's body pale. Ning Cheng suddenly became vigilant. He did not hesitate to circulate his true qi, the flying sword in his hand chopped out. The sword rainbow under the agitation of Ning Cheng's true qi, split open a gap in the bloody mist. Ning Cheng immediately squeezed through the gap and rushed out. Even if that was the case, one of the blood-red rainbows had already exploded on Ning Cheng's chest. Boom! Ning Cheng had just left the bloody mist, when a violent explosion sounded at the place where he was standing. Ning Cheng was shocked to find that a moment ago, the place where he was standing had a huge crater. Moreover, the crater was still dark red in color. It seemed that this place had been stained with blood for a long time. He subconsciously looked down. The clothes on his chest had been torn open, revealing the inner armor that the old woman had given him. Ning Cheng felt some lingering fear in his heart. If he did not have the inner armor, then that bloody rainbow would have cut a deep scar on his chest. Slowly breathing a sigh of relief, Ning Cheng could clearly see the artifact in the hands of Miao Li Hu. It turned out to be a huge scarlet streamer with a vague skull on it. That bloody rainbow, as well as that gloomy aura, and the rainbows that had exploded on his chest, were all brought out by this huge scarlet streamer. If not for the mysterious yellow bead, perhaps he would have already been killed. Ning Cheng was secretly afraid in his heart, but he also knew that although he had a lot of fighting experience, but most of it was against monstrous beasts. But he was just a qi-gathering cultivator, and dared to look down on Miao Li Hu, who was just a true condensation cultivator. If this was not courting death, then what was? A true condensation cultivator, even if it was a poor true condensation cultivator, they were not ordinary people. Ning Cheng no longer dared to be careless. The flying sword in his hands brought out a circle of sword light, as it rumbled towards Miao Li Hu. Ha! Miao Li Hu was shocked as he looked at the huge pit that he had blasted out. A qi-gathering 4th-level cultivator was able to escape from his scarlet grieving spirit streamer. This was the first time that he had seen such a thing. In his opinion, this was simply an impossible thing. A qi-gathering 4th-level cultivator, even if he was more powerful, would not be able to escape from his scarlet grieving spirit streamer. Ning Cheng was a qi-gathering 4th-level cultivator, but not only escaped from his scarlet grieving spirit streamer, but also brought out his flying sword to counterattack. 8 ice-cold sword lights. It seemed as if the surrounding space was frozen. His surroundings were completely sealed, so that he did not have any leeway to escape. You are not a qi-gathering cultivator. Miao Li Hu called out in shock, as he once again waved the scarlet streamer in his hands. Even a powerful qi-gathering cultivator would not be able to cast out this kind of crisscrossing ice qi sword light. Moreover, there were 8 of them in a row. Although these 8 sword lights could not be linked together, but it was enough to threaten the life of a true condensation cultivator. Once they were linked together, even he would find it extremely difficult to resist them. A qi-gathering 4th-level cultivator was able to form such a terrifying ice sword qi. He simply could not believe it. After the shock, he quickly calmed down. Although Ning Cheng's attack was indeed powerful, but he still believed that he could kill Ning Cheng. Qi. The scarlet streamer and Ning Cheng's ice sword light collided with each other. Chi sound resounded in the air, it was as if a cloth was being torn apart. The 8 ice sword chi were swept away by the scarlet streamer, and the ice-cold aura instantly weakened. Miao Li Hu was happy in his heart. The weaker the 8 ice sword chi were, the more difficult it was for them to condense into one. As long as he could suppress the 8 ice sword chi of Ning Cheng, he believed that Ning Cheng could only let himself be slaughtered. At this time, in the middle of the 8 ice sword chi and the scarlet streamer, suddenly 4 more ice sword chi appeared out of thin air. Once these 4 ice sword chi came out, the 8 ice sword chi that were originally scattered all over the place, instantly linked together into one. Just like a sword net, the scarlet streamer was completely frozen in the middle of the sword net. This is a profound grade sword technique. Miao Li Hu's soul almost jumped out of his body. He did not think that Ning Cheng would actually have a profound grade sword technique. Although he did not have such a sword technique, but it did not mean that he did not know what it was. This kind of treasure, even a 3-star academy would not necessarily have it, but this ant in his eyes unexpectedly had such a terrible sword technique. The moment he saw that it was a profound grade sword technique, Miao Li Hu knew that if he did not leave this place, then today he would really die in this place. He always felt that Ning Cheng's true essence was not as deep as his, but when he fought with Ning Cheng, he felt a little awkward. Now he finally understood, it was because Ning Cheng used a profound grade sword technique. Miao Li Hu did not know that his guess was wrong. Ning Cheng's true chi was not as good as his. When he fought with Ning Cheng, he always felt a little awkward. It was not because Ning Cheng used the 36 ice swords, but because Ning Cheng's spiritual sense was much stronger than his. In a fight between cultivators, spiritual sense was a decisive thing. Miao Li Hu did not realize the importance of spiritual sense. It would be strange if he did not fall into a disadvantageous position. In other words, as long as his spiritual sense was similar to Ning Cheng's, Ning Cheng would absolutely not be his opponent. This was the difference between them. Miao Li Hu simply did not care about the scarlet banner being injured by the profound ice sword chi. His true essence fiercely exploded out. At the same time he quickly retreated with the scarlet banner. He did not want to fight with Ning Cheng anymore. At this time, a faint shadow came out from the gap between the scarlet banner, and in a twinkling of an eye disappeared into Miao Li Hu's body. Miao Li Hu, who was retreating crazily, suddenly became sluggish. He stared at Ning Cheng. He wanted to say something, but the next moment he felt as if his heart had been hit by a hammer, and was about to burst open. His heart burst open, his eyes were filled with unwillingness as he crashed to the ground. So powerful. Ning Cheng looked at Miao Li Hu, who had fallen to the ground, and muttered. The 36 ice swords had already given him a pleasant surprise, but the 7 Pleiades ice needle had given him a pleasant surprise. He completely did not expect it to be. He had thought that Miao Li Hu would be sneak attacked by the 7 Pleiades ice needle, and would at least try to resist, but he did not even have half a chance to resist. This made Ning Cheng realize that he had underestimated his own 7 Pleiades ice needle. Chapter 58. Hua Continent. Among the 3 lower-class continents of the I Ching mainland, the spiritual qi in the Hua Continent was the most abundant. If not for the endless mountain ranges separating the Hua Continent and the Jia Continent, and these mountain ranges also split the spiritual veins in the Hua Continent, then the Hua Continent could even be classified as an intermediate-class continent. In the Hua Continent, the most powerful forces were not the 6 true countries, nor were they the numerous large and small academies. Rather, it was the 5 5-star academies. The 5-star academies in the Hua Continent were existences that surpassed the true countries. Even the most powerful true countries in the Hua Continent would not dare to do anything to the 5-star academies. If you exclude the 5-star academies, then the most famous forces in the Hua Continent would be the 6 true countries, followed by the 7 great clans that were not weaker than the 6 true countries. But the most famous clan was the East Water Country's Shui clan. Although the Shui clan was one of the 7 great clans of the Hua Continent, but because they had a profound core realm cultivator, they surpassed the rest of the clans. Even in the East Water country, they were considered to be extraordinary existences. In the lower-class continents, only the 5-star academies and a few true countries would have a profound core realm cultivator. The Shui clan, as a clan, had a profound core realm cultivator, which made them fully deserving of being the first clan. If not for the overall strength of the Shui clan being relatively weak, the Shui clan would have been able to stand on equal footing with the true countries. At this moment, in the Shui clan's clan meeting, a middle-aged man was scolding a youth beside him. This youth already had the cultivation of true condensation realm, but he just lowered his head, and did not open his mouth despite being scolded. The Shui clan's clan meeting was something that all the elders of the Shui clan must attend, moreover these elders would bring 1 or 2 of their most outstanding children to the meeting. The middle-aged man who was scolding the youth was called Shui Gao Yuan, an essence-building elder of the Shui clan, and the one he was scolding was his most outstanding son, Shui Feng Qi. He was not even 30 years old, but already had the cultivation of true condensation 4th level. The youth finally became impatient after being scolded, and suddenly raised his head and shouted, "That Ji Luofei is already disfigured, why do you want me to marry her? Even if I casually look for a woman, she would be 100 times better than her." When the middle-aged man heard that his son actually dared to refute him, he immediately stood up and angrily said, "What do you know? Ji Luofei is not born ugly. Once her appearance is restored, do you think that there would be anyone in the Falling Star Academy that could compare to her? Restoring one's appearance is very difficult in the Hua continent, but in an intermediate-class continent it is as easy as turning one's hand, you idiot." At this time, the old man sitting at the head of the table waved his hand, interrupting the middle-aged man's rage. "Gao Yuan, don't scold Feng Qi anymore. Young people always have their own opinions. Since Ji Luofei's face is disfigured, then she must be ugly." When the middle-aged man heard the old man's words, he didn't dare to continue speaking and quickly sat down. This was the clan head of the Shui clan, Shui Qinghua, who already had the cultivation of early-stage profound congealing realm. In the Shui clan, other than the profound core realm grand elder who was in seclusion all year round, the words of the Shui clan's clan head had always been absolute. "Shui Yu is willing to take Ji Luofei as his wife. I ask the patriarch to make the decision for me." At this time, sitting not far from the seat of the Shui clan's patriarch, a young man took the initiative to stand up and bow as he spoke. "Are you willing to marry that Ji Luofei? Don't you dislike her for being disfigured?" The Shui clan's patriarch, Shui Qinghua, asked with doubt and surprise. Not waiting for Shui Yu to speak, a man sitting opposite to Shui Yu also stood up and said, "Patriarch, Shui Yu is the disciple with the highest qualifications in my Shui clan, his future is limitless, how can he marry that disfigured Ji Luofei?" Saying that, he then turned to Shui Feng Qi and spoke in a sincere tone, "Shui Yu, your father is not here, so you can't make such a mess." Shui Yu also respectfully bowed to the man who spoke, and then solemnly said, "I am not impulsive, I have long had the idea of marrying Ji Luofei. Ji Luofei's qualifications are not much worse than mine, I believe that if she comes to my Shui clan, then in the future it would only be beneficial to my Shui clan, and would not bring any harm. Regarding appearance, I do not care much about it." The young man sitting at the head of the table on hearing Shui Yu's words, immediately clenched his fists. Originally he wanted to marry Ji Luofei, but he did not expect that Shui Yu would take the initiative. At this time Shui Yu had already spoken, even if he liked Ji Luofei, he did not dare to stand up and snatch her away from Shui Yu. Only he knew that Shui Yu's words were not credible, Shui Yu had completely fancied Ji Luofei's beauty and peerless charm. That's right, it was beauty. Although Ji Luofei was disfigured, but her unparalleled figure was unforgettable. Once she restored her appearance, she would absolutely be unparalleled. Not to mention that Ji Luofei's qualifications were so excellent, if she became his wife, then in the future he would definitely be able to borrow her strength. Unfortunately, Not all of the Shui clan's disciples were as blind as Shui Fengqi. He was not the only one who could see that Ji Luofei was good. But, I heard that Ji Luofei also has an aunt, Ji Yaohe. Qingzhou, you go look for Ji Yaohe, and propose a marriage for Shui Yu. Remember to bring the sincerity of my Shui clan. You cannot neglect others just because Ji Luofei is disfigured. Shui Qinghua, on hearing Shui Yu's words, seemed to be extremely happy. He was very satisfied that the Shui clan had such an excellent and sensible disciple. He had not seen Ji Yaohe, but had heard that Ji Luofei's qualifications in the Falling Star Academy were excellent. The only regret was that Ji Luofei was disfigured. Yes, Patriarch. A man who looked extremely capable stood up and bowed in response. At this time, Ning Cheng had already been in the Don Forest for almost a month. According to Ning Cheng's estimation, in this 1 month, he had already walked nearly half the distance. After walking in the Don Forest for more than a month, Ning Cheng's understanding of the Don Forest had become even more profound. He was glad that he had obtained a map. If he did not have a map, not to mention getting lost in the Don Forest, he might have already died in the jaws of a high-leveled monstrous beast. Even if he had a map, he was still almost killed by a high-leveled monstrous beast several times. Along the way, he did not know how many bones he had seen. These bones, in addition to some of the monstrous beasts, there were also many human bones. It could be seen that since the beginning of time, many people had died in the Don Forest. However, his harvest was also not small. Not only did he find hundreds of rank 1 spiritual grasses, he also found more than a dozen rank 2 spiritual grasses. What surprised him the most, was that he found a rank 4 rainbow light grass, but on the contrary he did not even see a single rank 3 spiritual grass. The rainbow light grass was an extremely precious rank 4 spiritual grass, although Ning Cheng did not know alchemy, but he was very familiar with some of the spiritual grasses. The rainbow light grass could be used to repair a cultivator's core lake. Moreover, it could also be used to refine the mysterious rainbow pill. Of course, refining the mysterious rainbow pill was too outrageous. After all, the mysterious rainbow pill was a rank 4 pill, and the alchemy grandmaster that could refine a rank 4 pill was not something that Ning Cheng was able to recognize. Walking in a place like the Don Forest, one would occasionally be able to obtain such an opportunity, but most of the time he would have to carry his head in his hands. Although Ning Cheng could use the flying sword to fly, but he did not dare to fly more than 10 meters. Flying in this place would only lead to a faster death. Not only could he not fly, but when he walked, he had to be as careful as possible. Ning Cheng relied on this kind of caution, and had walked nearly half the distance. But in the last 2 days, Ning Cheng felt that something was wrong. Not only did he not meet a single monstrous beast, he did not even see a low-leveled wild beast. The surroundings were deathly still. If he did not have a clear map, he would have thought that he was walking in the wrong direction. Ning Cheng's walking speed slowed down, and after half a day, when a burst of scorching heat hit him in the face, Ning Cheng saw the scene in front of him, and was immediately stunned. In front of him was at least a few dozen miles in radius, but at this time it had completely turned into a crisscrossed ravine. There was not even a single tree. In the Don Forest, although there were some open areas, but there was never a place like this in front of him. It was completely crisscrossed with ravines, and he could not even see a single tree. It should be said that it was not that there were no trees. Ning Cheng also saw some broken trees scattered in the ravines. A sharp murderous aura diffused out from these ravines. However, this murderous aura still made Ning Cheng feel a burst of discomfort. It was a terrible scene of a battle. Ning Cheng could see that this was the place where 2 experts were fighting. Before, when he and Feng Fei Zhang had gone to the Mingat Sea area, they had encountered 2 experts fighting on the road. But that kind of battle, compared to the one in front of him, was simply like a child in the presence of a child. It simply could not be compared. Ning Cheng did not dare to directly pass through this battlefield. Even if this battlefield had been here for many days, he could still feel the bursts of killing chi. This was only the edge of the battlefield. Once he entered the battlefield, the killing chi would certainly get stronger and stronger, whether he could withstand it or not, was another matter altogether. Ning Cheng was just about to carefully bypass this terrible battlefield in front of him, when a spear handle protruding from the ground made him suddenly stop. Chapter 59. This is a long spear magic treasure, it must be so. After Ning Cheng saw this long spear, he could no longer move his feet. He did not like to use flying swords to fight his enemies. He originally liked to use spears or other powerful magical weapons. Moreover, he had obtained the spear technique 36 profound ice spears, which made Ning Cheng want a spear even more. Unfortunately, he only had a flying sword and nothing else. Now that there was a long spear in this place, although the part of the long spear exposed to the ground was broken, but for Ning Cheng, it still had an infinite attraction. Not to mention the cultivation of the people fighting here, to be able to cause such a big scene, their cultivation would not be too bad. How could the items left behind by the two experts with powerful cultivations be inferior? Ning Cheng slowly moved towards the center of the crisscrossing ravine where the fight was taking place. Originally, when he was at the edge of the ravine, he could already feel a sharp and pervasive killing intent. When he stepped into the range of the battle, the powerful killing intent immediately tore his clothes apart. The murderous aura was just like a knife, as it swept across Ning Cheng's body, causing Ning Cheng's body to immediately be covered with dozens of bloody scars. The bloodstains were very shallow, but the blood that flowed out instantly dyed Ning Cheng's body red. Ning Cheng did not dare to take a second step. The attraction of the long spear-type artifact also did not allow him to withdraw from this crisscrossing ravine. He stopped and slowly operated his true chi. He wanted to heal himself while moving forward slowly. Even if he had to spend a few more months, he had to get his hands on this spear. Alchemy and artifact crafting were not easy, Ning Cheng already knew about it. If he did not obtain such a spear-type magic treasure, he would not be able to sleep at night. As the chi flowed along Ning Cheng's meridians, the mysterious yellow bead that originally stayed in his zifu suddenly rotated, the mysterious yellow aura mixed with the chi, and completely filled the meridians of Ning Cheng's entire body. Ning Cheng unexpectedly sat down in this place filled with murderous chi, as two figures appeared in his mind. These two shadows were crisscrossing in the sky above the Dawn Forest. One of them was using a spear, while the other was using a great axe. The two of them crisscrossed in this space with spear shadows and axe lights. In just a short period of time, the densely forested area had been ravaged to the point where only a few charred trees remained. Ning Cheng could vaguely sense the traces of the murderous chi in the spear shadows, causing his consciousness space to suddenly come to a standstill. The figure wielding the spear had brought out the spear-type artifact in his hands, and then stabbed out with the spear. This spear brought out thousands upon thousands of spear shadows. The killing intent contained within the spear shadows made Ning Cheng breathless. So powerful, Ning Cheng couldn't help but feel shocked in his heart. He suddenly became vigilant. He had only felt a trace of residual murderous chi from the long spear, but it was already so uncomfortable. If he were to face such a terrifying murderous aura, he could only close his eyes and wait for death. Perhaps he didn't even need to wait for death. As long as that terrifying murderous aura came out, it could completely turn him into nothingness. This kind of dense and brutal spear shadows filled with a murderous aura almost engulfed the entire Dawn Forest. It seemed as if the entire Dawn Forest was going to be torn apart. He didn't know how the shadow wielding the giant axe was going to defend against such a terrifying destructive spear shadow. However, he could vaguely feel that there was something strange about this spear. Suddenly, he felt a severe pain in his mind. At the same time he could no longer catch up to the shadow wielding the giant axe. He could only feel a terrible tearing pain in his mind. The next moment he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ning Cheng's face turned pale after spitting out a mouthful of blood, but he still did not retreat. He just slowly stood up, and with a wave of his hand, a flying sword appeared in his hand. At the same time, he used the flying sword as a spear to stab out. Whoosh, just like the sound of an arrow being shot, the flying sword in Ning Cheng's hand brought out a long sword light, which tore apart the surrounding murderous chi. Or rather, Ning Cheng's flying sword had completely twisted apart the surrounding murderous chi, so that the surrounding murderous chi no longer had any effect on him. Was this the tip of the spear? Ning Cheng's heart was filled with incomparable excitement. He had never thought that he would be able to comprehend such a spear in this kind of place. If he could completely comprehend this spear, then wouldn't his battle prowess rise to a whole new level? Something is wrong. Ning Cheng suddenly stopped, the joy on his face instantly disappeared without a trace. In his mind, there was a clear trace of the flaw in this move, moreover it was a fatal flaw. Initially, when the figure wielding the spear had used this move, there was no way for the spear to transform into countless terrifying spear shadows, as such he had used a supplementary spear. That's right, it was a supplementary spear, because that person was not able to truly sweep through the world with a single spear, as such he had used several supplementary spears to assist him. Because of this, there seemed to be a flaw in the spear shadow. If the person wielding the great axe was able to grasp this flaw, then the shadow wielding the spear would undoubtedly lose. Ning Cheng's face once again turned pale. He saw the ravine in front of him. At the same time he was very clear that the person wielding the spear would definitely lose. The ravine in front of him was a deep ravine, while the surrounding ravines were relatively thinner, moreover the murderous chi was also a lot weaker. The reason why Ning Cheng's face turned pale was because he had also comprehended the tip of the spear a moment ago. In other words, when he fought against other people in the future, as long as the opponent was able to grasp the flaw in this spear, he would also suffer a crushing defeat. Even if he did not use the supplementary spear, the spear that he had comprehended would still not be perfect, and would have a trace of flaw. Although he knew that the person wielding the spear would not be able to penetrate through this spear, so that this spear would have an irreparable flaw. But from a psychological point of view, Ning Cheng was still standing on the side of the person wielding the spear, because he also wanted to use the spear as his own magical weapon. Similarly, Ning Cheng finally understood what the broken half of the spear in the middle of the ravine was. It should be the supplementary spear of the person wielding the spear. After the person wielding the spear lost, he did not even have the ability to take away the supplementary spear. It could be seen that he should have suffered a crushing defeat. But Ning Cheng quickly put aside this idea. With his current cultivation level, wanting to fight against this kind of expert was just a dream, so he did not have to think too much about it. In the future, when he was able to fight against this kind of expert, perhaps he would have already made up for the flaws in this spear. Putting aside this idea, the murderous chi of that spear was once again caught by Ning Cheng. His mind was becoming more and more clear about this spear. Ning Cheng was completely unaware that what he had caught was not the murderous chi, but a trace of the spear intent. If someone knew that Ning Cheng was just a trivial cultivator in the chi-gathering realm, he would be able to sense the scene of the battle through the murderous chi, and even comprehend a trace of the spear intent. Even if Ning Cheng hid in the horizon, he would still be caught, and torn apart bit by bit for research. Ning Cheng also knew why he was able to sense such a terrible scene of the battle. It had nothing to do with his qualifications, it was because of the mysterious yellow bead. After just a few breaths, Ning Cheng gave a loud shout, and with a shake of his hands, the spear intent was stimulated out by him. The surrounding murderous chi that did not have much of an effect on him became even thinner. Ning Cheng was overjoyed in his heart, and quickened his pace. He had originally intended to spend a few months to get his hands on that broken spear, but he had never thought that just by comprehending a trace of the murderous chi, he would be able to walk so fast in this ravine. In just the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng arrived at a place not far from where the broken spear was. Just when Ning Cheng was about to take a step forward, and grab the broken spear in his hands, an even more fierce murderous chi blasted out, and directly bombarded Ning Cheng's chest. This murderous chi was even more fierce than the murderous chi left behind by the spear. Ning Cheng was immediately sent flying upside down by this terrible murderous chi. At the same time as he spurted out a mouthful of blood, in Ning Cheng's consciousness appeared the shadow of a great axe. Ning Cheng stood up shakily, but he still felt that his legs were trembling. This had nothing to do with fear, but rather the murderous chi of that great axe was too terrible, it made him completely unable to resist it. This is the axe shadow that broke that spear, it's too powerful. After a long time, Ning Cheng muttered to himself. At this time Ning Cheng was very clear, if he could not block the murderous chi of this great axe, then he simply would not have any way to get the broken spear. Even if the spear was within his reach, he could only look at it. Bah! Looking at his chest, which had a mark on it, Ning Cheng spat out a mouthful of saliva. This father wants this spear today. Making up his mind, Ning Cheng carefully approached the ravine filled with the murderous chi of the great axe. Just as he was about to approach, the terrifying axe shadow directly blasted over, once again sending him flying. He continued to comprehend the axe shadow, and then once again moved forward. Being blasted away, injured, comprehending, moving forward. Being blasted away again, injured again, comprehending again, moving forward again. Ning Cheng was blasted away again, and was injured again and again, moving forward again and again. Time flowed by in this kind of repetition, and the murderous chi of this axe shadow gradually became clear in Ning Cheng's consciousness. Moving forward, the imposing manner was boundless, there was no room for turning back, this was the imposing manner of this axe shadow. Whether it was the imposing manner, or the murderous chi, this axe shadow was much stronger than the murderous chi of the spear intent that Ning Cheng had felt before. This was not because the cultivation level of the person using the axe was much higher than the cultivation level of the person using the spear, but because one had the murderous chi of winning, while the other had the murderous chi of losing, the two simply could not be compared. Ning Cheng could not remember how many times he had been blasted away, there was not even an inch of his body that was intact, even his face was riddled with scars. But he was not surprised, on the contrary he was happy, and once again rushed forward, while simultaneously chopping out with the flying sword in his hands. This time he used his flying sword as a great axe, and chopped out with his flying sword. The sword chi drove the murderous chi around the gully, sending out bursts of crackling sounds. After a moment, Ning Cheng stopped, in front of him was the gully. The murderous chi that had easily blasted him away, at this time it was no longer able to blast him away even by half a step. Ning Cheng was standing in front of the gully created by the great axe, as a series of insights appeared in his mind. He did not know how much time had passed, when Ning Cheng suddenly opened his eyes, his body issued a burst of light sounds, the powerful chi in his body was like gurgling water, and the sound was becoming more and more clear. A touch of surprise appeared in Ning Cheng's eyes, this was the first time that he did not use spirit stones to cultivate, nor did he use any external resources, and was able to advance. He was able to advance to the chi-gathering 9th level, completely because he had comprehended the two murderous chi in this place. Chapter 60. Ning Cheng put away the flying sword, and stood in the same place as he sent out a punch. He was able to perceive a trace of killing chi left behind by the great axe, which made him eager to try out the might of this axe. But the flying sword was really not easy to use, so he simply used his fist as a giant axe. Bang! Ning Cheng's axe fist was filled with a murderous aura, as it directly blasted away the residual killing intent in front of him, causing a muffled sound to ring out. The murderous aura that lingered in the surroundings was like mud that had been blasted apart, splashing in all directions. Although the killing intent would still surge back, it was no longer as sharp as before. Ha ha! Ning Cheng laughed, as he took a step forward and raised his hand to grab the handle of the broken spear, that's all. He comprehended a trace of the great axe's killing chi, and then used his own great axe fists to blow away the remaining killing chi in the surroundings, and felt incomparably comfortable. Of course, he knew that the great axe's murderous chi that was left here at the moment, was not even a millionth of the great axe's murderous chi, but at least at this time, this remnant murderous chi had already been blown away by his fist. What's more, he was using his self-created fist axe. It was precisely because he had used his axe fist to blast away the residual great axe-killing chi, that he could say that it was just so. In Ning Cheng's view, a truly powerful expert, even if they had walked away for countless years, the traces of their murderous aura would not dissipate so easily. As for the two people fighting here, it was obvious that they hadn't left for long. The murderous aura at the scene of the fight had dissipated by 99%. After a while, the murderous aura here would disappear completely. Even if Ning Cheng knew that compared to the others, the disparity between them was like heaven and earth, but after he comprehended two kinds of killing intense, he still felt somewhat disapproving of it. While laughing, Ning Cheng had already stimulated his chi, and reached out to pull out the broken spear. A powerful aura immediately flooded Ning Cheng's senses. It felt as if the long spear in his hand could blow apart the surrounding heaven and earth. At this moment, the entire world seemed to be under his control, although Ning Cheng knew that it was an illusion, but he was still overjoyed in his heart. As soon as he held the spear in his hand, the heavy feeling in his hand made it clear that this spear was more suitable for him than the flying sword. The spear was nearly 8 feet long, but to Ning Cheng's regret, this spear was not only broken in half, even the spear head was broken in half. Even if that was the case, Ning Cheng could still feel that this long spear was not simple. Ning Cheng did not change places at all, and directly stayed in the same place, as he began to refine the long spear. As Ning Cheng refined the restrictions, the powerful aura lingering around the long spear gradually weakened. Not knowing how much time had passed, Ning Cheng once again stood up and raised his spear, before thrusting it out. The surrounding air buzzed from the shot, as if a thin willow branch was rapidly brushing through the air. After the spear stabbed out, the air in front of the spear was completely separated. The next moment, Ning Cheng's spearhead trembled, bringing out 12 spear shadows. These spear shadows looked like a sparse spear net that completely covered the space in front of them. The surroundings instantly turned cold. The cold was like a viscous liquid, causing the movements of those who were in it to become much more sluggish. The profound 36 ice spears, this was the real profound 36 ice spears. Ning Cheng was pleasantly surprised in his heart. He had used his long spear to display the 36 profound ice spear technique. Whether it was the imposing manner or the power, it was far from being comparable to the flying sword. At this moment in Ning Cheng's heart, this 36 profound ice spear technique could only be described with one word: powerful. Putting away the long spear, Ning Cheng's imposing manner rose. If he had to face Miao Li who was at the Qi-gathering 4th level, he was confident that he would not even need to use the 7 Pleiades ice needle, and would be able to kill the opposite party. Unfortunately, the long spear was broken, and was unable to stabilize its quality. When Ning Cheng held it in his hands, he felt that it was just a low-grade artifact. When he thrust it out with his spear, he felt that the quality of the long spear had risen to that of a medium-grade artifact. But when he blasted out the 36 profound ice spear technique, this broken spear seemed to have become a high-grade artifact. Ning Cheng did not have the slightest doubt that once he displayed an even more fearsome spear technique, this broken spear might even become a spiritual artifact of the lowest grade. From this, Ning Cheng inferred that this broken spear, before it was broken, it was absolutely a top-grade artifact that was above the spiritual artifact. Moreover, the refining technique used to refine it was not ordinary. Even if the broken spear was destroyed, the remaining restrictions were still able to maintain the usability of the artifact. Ning Cheng had not come into contact with many artifacts, but he had read some records about them. If an ordinary artifact was broken, then it would be very difficult to use it again, and would have to be repaired before it could be used again. Although this spear was broken, but it could still be used, it showed that the refining method used to refine this spear was different from the ordinary artifacts. Ning Cheng found a blue cloth and wrapped it around the broken spear, and tied it to his back. This spear was broken, although it could still be refined, but it could not be compared to a flying sword. A flying sword could be controlled with his spiritual sense, but the size of a broken spear could not be changed. Moreover, Ning Cheng's storage bag only had a little more than a meter of space, but this broken spear was already more than 2 meters long. Besides carrying it on his back, Ning Cheng could only hold it in his hands. Having already comprehended the two kinds of killing intents in this crisscrossing ravine, Ning Cheng used his fastest speed to cross this place. Looking back at the large battlefield that he had left behind, Ning Cheng couldn't help but think in his heart that this kind of opportunity really required luck and strength. He had crossed the Dawn Forest, and had unexpectedly obtained a long spear, and had also comprehended the two kinds of killing intents. His fighting strength had once again soared. If this was not an opportunity, then what was it? Auntie, I don't agree. Ji Luofei faced Ji Yao He and replied without hesitation. Not to mention that her and Ning Cheng's engagement had not been dissolved, she had also promised Ning Cheng that she would never marry anyone else in this life. Even if there were no such things, she did not intend to marry anyone else. At this moment, in her heart, there was only cultivation, and cultivation. In the future, when her cultivation was high enough, she wanted to go to the Dawn Forest, and see why her parents could not come out of the Dawn Forest. Now that her auntie actually wanted her to marry East Water Country's Shui clan Shui Yu, she did not even think about it, and flatly refused. Ji Yao He immediately frowned, and tried to slow down her tone as much as possible and said, Luo Fei, the Shui clan is one of the 7 major clans of the Hua continent, moreover they even have a profound core cultivator. That Shui Yu is the #1 genius of the Shui clan. What does our Ji clan have? Now there are only the 2 of us. Your spiritual root is only a dual spiritual root. If you can marry into the Shui clan, then you will definitely be able to reach a higher level in the future. Otherwise, even if we were in the Falling Star Academy, it would be very difficult for us to take a step forward. Pausing for a moment, Ji Yao He continued to earnestly persuade her, besides you are also disfigured, with the Shui clan's ability, in the future you will definitely be able to go to the intermediate class continent, the Jia continent. Once you could go to the Jia continent, would you still be afraid that you would not be able to restore your appearance? Moreover that Shui Yu's spiritual root qualification is even better than yours. He is not even 30 years old, but already has the cultivation of true condensation 6th level. This kind of person, even in the Falling Star Academy, there were not many. Why don't you agree? Auntie, I already have a husband. It's impossible for me to do anything to the Shui family. What's more, I am already disfigured. In this life, other than looking for my parents, I do not have any other thoughts. I ask Auntie to go back to the Shui clan. Ji Luofei spoke in a categorical manner. Ji Yao He on hearing Ji Luofei's words stood up in anger. Luofei, do you know what the consequences of rejecting the Shui clan are? It is absolutely impossible for us to continue staying in the Falling Star Academy. If we leave the Falling Star Academy, where else do you think we can go? That Ning Cheng simply does not have a spiritual root. In a few decades, he would just be a pile of yellow soil. Do you really want to guard that yellow soil? Ji Luofei also slowly stood up, and said in a tone without even half a shred of emotion, Auntie, I and Ning Cheng have lived together for more than 10 years. At that time when I knew that he had died in prison, when I carried him back, I did not feel even half a shred of sadness. When he woke up on my back, I did not feel even half a shred of joy. But now, I suddenly understand, he and I are closer. Ji Luofei finished speaking. Without saying another word, she slowly walked out of the room. Her heart was very sad. Before Ning Cheng really was not a good thing, but after coming out of prison, he unexpectedly left a trace in her heart. If it was Ning Cheng, would he, for his own sake, let her marry into the Shui clan? Her auntie had left Ning Cheng in the Chongqing province. How could Ji Luofei not know that it was like using a borrowed knife to kill someone? But she was powerless to change anything. Her cultivation level was too low. She could only wait for her own cultivation level to be high enough, and then go to see Ning Cheng. If he died, then she would wear mourning clothes for him. If he was still alive, then she would wish him a better life. She could also continue to look for her parents. She did not hate Ji Yaohe because she wanted to use a borrowed knife to kill Ning Cheng. After all, she was her auntie, what she did was for her. But today, she found that she seemed to have thought wrong. In the face of benefits, her auntie still did not consider her feelings. Why must she stay in the Falling Star Academy? Could it be that she could not stay in the Falling Star Academy? Don't be nervous, come with me, just listen to me. Ning Cheng's words were something that she could never forget. If Ji Yaohe was not her auntie, and treated Ning Cheng like this, she would have already left the Falling Star Academy. Luo Fei, you know my qualifications, after you leave, remember to avenge me. This was what Ning Cheng had said to her when he told her to escape. Ji Luo Fei seemed to have returned to the Chongqing province. She suddenly felt that her auntie and Ning Cheng's auntie were not the same concept. It was like Ning Cheng only had a single gold coin, while her auntie had countless spirit stones. Her auntie gave her a spirit stone that was several times more expensive than a gold coin. But Ning Cheng actually gave her the only gold coin. If this was the end, then she would feel a bit better in her heart. After all, her auntie was her blood relative. But as her own auntie, she actually turned around and asked her for this gold coin. At this moment, she finally felt that Ning Cheng, compared to her auntie, seemed to be closer. Ji Luo Fei walked out of the room, turned around and bowed towards the room behind her, and then quickened her pace. She had to leave this place. For her, if even her auntie became a stranger, then there was no point in staying here. Chapter 61. A few monstrous beasts roared and a sword light soared into the sky. It made Ning Cheng, who was still rushing through the dawn forest, to stop, as he carefully hid to one side. This was the scene of a fight between a human and a monstrous beast. Ning Cheng did not think that in the depths of the dawn forest, other than himself, there would be other people. This was already the 12th day since he had obtained the broken spear. According to Ning Cheng's plan, as long as the map was not wrong, he would be able to get out of the dawn forest in about a month. At this time, he actually came across some people fighting with the monstrous beasts in the dawn forest. Ning Cheng certainly did not think that this person who was fighting against the monstrous beasts could be compared to the person who had left behind the broken spear. However, those who could survive here would not be simple. To be able to fight with monstrous beasts in this place, Ning Cheng did not think that the other party was anything special. When he was at the intermediate stages of the Qi gathering realm, didn't he also survive by the side of the clear water lake for a few months? In the dawn forest, as long as one has a certain level of strength, as long as one does not encroach on the territory of the other monstrous beasts, one would be able to survive. A few more sword lights surged out. Some of the true essence fluctuations could be felt by Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng knew that the person fighting with the monstrous beast was at least a true condensation cultivator. Not long after, the sword light dissipated and the demonic beast's roar also disappeared. The battle should be over. Qi Hua, why are you here? A low and deep voice of a man reached Ning Cheng's ears. Following this, a clear and pleasant voice replied, I was a little worried about you, so I came to take a look. Oh, it was a woman, but before the woman could finish her sentence, her mouth seemed to be gagged. It was probably the two of them being intimate. Originally it was a pair of lovers living in this place. Ning Cheng shook his head. He did not want to continue to see who these two people were. Since the man was a true condensation cultivator, then the woman should also be a true condensation cultivator. A man and a woman staying in the dawn forest, whether or not they were lost, Ning Cheng did not want to ask about it. He was only at Qi gathering 9th level, even if he was confident that he was not weaker than an ordinary true condensation cultivator, but he was already very close to the Yuan continent. Who knew if the opposite party was an ordinary true condensation cultivator? Moreover, there were two of them. Besides, these two people had been living in the dawn forest for a long time, so they definitely had rich fighting experience. There was no need for him to join in on the fun. Just when Ning Cheng was about to leave, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He was very familiar with the name Qi Hua, as such Ning Cheng was sure that he had heard these two words before. Ning Cheng put an end to the idea of leaving. He waited for a while in the same place, making sure that the two of them had already walked far away, only then did he carefully lurk towards them. Soon, he arrived at the scene of the fight. There were still some bloodstains and claw marks left on the scene, and the traces left by several sword gleams were also clearly visible. According to the fighting scene, it should be a fight between a true condensation cultivator and a low-leveled monstrous beast. In the end, the demonic beast was killed and taken away. Checking the traces in the vicinity, Ning Cheng found the direction in which the two people had left, and cautiously followed them. After the time it took for an incense stick to burn, Ning Cheng found that the traces that he had been tracking had abruptly disappeared, and in front of him seemed to be an ordinary forest. Ning Cheng carefully examined the surroundings, and soon came to understand that this place was an array formation. Moreover, it should be close to a level 3 concealment array formation. Ning Cheng was a grade 2 array formation master, as such he only had to study this array formation for a while, before he understood what was going on. In less than 10 breaths of time, Ning Cheng passed through the array formation, and in front of him was a large verdant green place. It almost made Ning Cheng think that he had arrived at a paradise. There were a few very beautiful-looking wooden houses built in the middle of the green space. In front of the green space there was a bamboo forest. In the middle of the bamboo forest there was a small path. At the end of the path was a large lake. There were more than a dozen wild cranes swimming around in the lake. How was this the Dawn Forest? This was clearly a paradise. Compared to the tree hole that he used to live in, this place was simply heaven and hell. A woman wearing a green robe came out of the wooden house. She was carrying a bamboo basket in her hands. Inside the bamboo basket there were some green wild vegetables. Ning Cheng quickly took a few steps forward, and hid at the edge of the bamboo forest. Looking at the woman's cultivation from a distance, he could tell that she should be at true condensation 3rd level. Ning Cheng could only see the woman's silhouette from the side, but when the green-robed woman passed through the bamboo forest, and arrived at the edge of the lake, Ning Cheng could clearly see her appearance. In just an instant, Ning Cheng knew where he had heard the two words Chi Hua. The eyes of the woman in front of him and his former fiancée Ji Luo Fei were 70% similar. Not only that, even the shape of the face was somewhat similar. It was just that Ji Luo Fei's face was disfigured. Ning Cheng believed that if Ji Luo Fei was not disfigured, then they would be even more similar. He had heard the name Chi Hua from Ji Luo Fei's mouth. He remembered that Ji Luo Fei had said that her father was called Ji Xianzhang, and her mother was called Xiong Chi Hua. Ning Cheng was almost certain that this woman was Xiong Chi Hua, that is, Ji Luo Fei's mother. Was the man who had killed the monstrous beast Ji Luo Fei's father, Ji Xianzhang? But Ning Cheng's intuition told him that that man was not Ji Xianzhang. Ning Cheng was shocked by his own thoughts. If that man was not Ji Xianzhang, then wouldn't Xiong Chi Hua have an affair with Ji Luo Fei's father? Moreover, she was still in the Dawn Forest. He knew that Ji Luo Fei's parents had disappeared in the Dawn Forest, and then her grandfather had brought her to the Chongqing province. If this woman was Xiong Chi Hua, then it meant that Ji Luo Fei's mother was not dead. Since she was not dead, then why did she not leave this place and go to the Chongqing province to look for her daughter? After the green-robed woman came to the lake, she took out a bamboo basket filled with wild vegetables, and threw them into the lake. The red-crowned cranes floating in the lake swam over, and began to snatch the wild vegetables. Chi Hua, there are not many wild cranes left. Wait for me to get a piece of land, then we can plant some more. The man came out of the wooden house. He had not even come close to the green-robed woman, when he spoke from a distance. But his voice was low, which made Ning Cheng feel extremely uncomfortable when he heard it. However, when Ning Cheng saw the appearance of this person, he secretly admired him in his heart. He was confident that he was not ugly, and even somewhat handsome. But compared to this person, he found that his appearance was really ordinary. Ning Cheng had never seen a person as handsome as the man in front of him, with a straight nose, bright eyes, and delicate eyebrows that were even more delicate than a woman's. If not for his voice being too unpleasant to listen to, this person would simply be perfect. The green-robed woman called Qi Hua showed a faint smile and stood up. Hongwen, thank you. Sure enough, he is not Ji Luo Fei's father, Ning Qing thought in his heart. He knew that Ji Luo Fei's father was called Ji Xianzhang, and was definitely not Hongwen. Qi Hua, you stayed in the Dawn Forest for me. I, Zhu Hongwen, will definitely not do anything for you. As long as you can be happy, even if it takes my life, I will not even frown. The handsome man called Zhu Hongwen said without hesitation. The green-robed woman quickly reached out to stop Zhu Hongwen, but she had just stretched out her hand, when Zhu Hongwen pulled her into his arms. Seeing that Zhu Hongwen's hand was about to reach into the green-robed woman's robe, the green-robed woman suddenly gasped and said, "Not here, it's still daytime." Zhu Hongwen kissed the forehead of the green-robed woman, and softly said, "There are only the two of us here, even if we do something, we will not. Who is it?" Zhu Hongwen suddenly let go of the green-robed woman, while at the same time a flying sword appeared in his hands, as he stared in the direction of Ning Qing. Ning Qing slowly stood up, while in his heart he was cursing his bad luck. Seeing his mother-in-law having an affair, but when he wanted to leave, he was discovered. If this was not bad luck, then what was it? When he was sure that the woman in front of him was Xiong Qi Hua, he did not want to stay here anymore. In the future, if he could go to the Falling Star Academy and see Ji Luo Fei, then he would tell Ji Luo Fei that her mother was in the Dawn Forest. Regardless of whether Ji Luo Fei's mother had an affair or not, it was a matter of the Ji clan, and had nothing to do with him. Although he was discovered, Ning Qing was not afraid. That person called Zhu Hongwen was only at true condensation 4th level. He believed that even if he could not beat the opposite party, he would still be able to escape. "How did you come in?" When the green-robed woman saw that someone really came in, her face immediately turned white. Even her whole body began to tremble. "Qi Hua, you do not have to be afraid, he is just a qi-gathering brat, I will go and kill him." Zhu Hongwen comforted the green-robed woman, and directly flew towards Ning Qing to block his way out. At this time, he did not want to talk nonsense with Ning Qing. His entire body was overflowing with killing intent. The flying sword in his hands was already wrapped in a formidable killing intent as it flew towards Ning Qing. The sword light was several feet long. It was far more powerful than when he had fought against the Class 2 monstrous beast. However, in Ning Qing's view, these sword lights were mostly flashy, just like his previous sword lights. Although they looked good, they could only scare people who did not understand. At the same time as the sword light arrived, the broken spear on Ning Qing's back had already fallen into his hands, and he immediately shot out with his spear. The broken spear carried a murderous aura and instantly shattered Zhu Hongwen's murderous sword aura. After tearing apart the sword aura's murderous aura, it directly arrived in front of Zhu Hongwen. Spear intent. Zhu Hongwen's soul almost jumped out of his body. He had never thought that a qi-gathering cultivator would be so fearsome. He even comprehended a trace of spear intent. Did he cultivate a spear technique from birth? Otherwise, how could a qi-gathering cultivator comprehend a spear intent? It turned out that this was not a killing intent, but rather a spear intent. Ning Qing at this time realized that the two killing intents that he had comprehended were actually two different kinds of killing intents. But his hands were not slow at all, and the spear was about to explode on Zhu Hongwen's chest. Zhu Hongwen's chest suddenly caved in, and the flying sword in his hands, as if it had eyes, appeared on the tip of Ning Qing's spear. Ding! A loud and crisp sound rang out, causing both Ning Qing and Zhu Hongwen to simultaneously take a few steps back. Chapter 62. Ning Qing's fighting experience was also very rich. He knew that his cultivation level was not as good as Zhu Hongwen. The longer the fight dragged on, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. The reason why he was able to fight evenly with Zhu Hongwen was because his spiritual sense was much stronger than Zhu Hongwen's. So when Ning Qing was forced back by Zhu Hongwen's true essence, he simply did not have any delay, and once again rushed forward, at the same time the spear in his hands transformed into 12 ice-cold spear shadows. These 12 ice-cold spear shadows instantly formed a spear net. The surrounding air seemed to have become very cold. The strong ice-cold spear intent directly cooled down Zhu Hongwen's fighting spirit. Zhu Hongwen's heart trembled. This was a profound grade spear technique, moreover it was a profound grade ice spear technique. To be able to display an ice spear technique to such an extent, even if this person did not have an ice spiritual root, he would at least have an ice spiritual root. He did not understand whether Ning Cheng was a qi-gathering cultivator or a true condensation cultivator. In the face of Ning Cheng's powerful spear technique, he did not have a defensive magical weapon, other than dodging, he simply could not block it. Once he dodged, this powerful spear net would definitely follow him like a shadow. Even if he managed to escape, he would be seriously injured. Because in front of this powerful profound ice spear intent, giving up resistance would only make his speed even slower. These thoughts flashed through Zhu Hongwen's mind like lightning. He promptly made a judgment. The flying sword in his hands also transformed into a sword curtain. He could not retreat. If he retreated, then not only would he be defeated, he might even be killed. The sword curtain and the profound ice spear shadows collided. Woo-woo. This woo-woo sound was mixed with some caw-caw sounds. It was as if the surface of the ice was being broken. Puff puff puff. The profound ice spear shadows directly broke through the sword curtain. Several spear shadows passed through the sword curtain, and exploded on Zhu Hongwen's body, bringing forth 4 to 5 blood arrows. At the same time, Zhu Hongwen was also sent flying by Ning Cheng's attack. However, he felt a bit relieved, as he finally managed to preserve his life. Ning Cheng was secretly surprised in his heart. This Zhu Hongwen's cultivation was not as good as Miao Li Hu from the Mingot city, but on the contrary he was much stronger than Miao Li Hu. The 36 profound ice spear technique was already his most powerful spear technique. If the 36 profound ice spear technique could not kill Zhu Hongwen, then he could only use the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Ning Cheng did not dare to use the 7 Pleiades ice needle. Moreover, there was still a woman at the true condensation 3rd level beside him. The 7 Pleiades ice needle's sneak attack had the best effect, but once it was known, the effect would be reduced by half. After all, his 7 Pleiades ice needle technique was far inferior to the 36 profound ice spear technique. The 7 Pleiades ice needle technique completely relied on his spiritual sense. Although Zhu Hongwen was seriously injured, but the long spear in Ning Cheng's hands did not slow down for even half a moment. The spear light converged, before it turned into a spear line and continued to blast towards Zhu Hongwen's glabella. This spear was filled with killing intent, and even the surrounding bamboos were pushed to the sides by this killing intent. To strike while the iron is hot, Ning Cheng was very clear about this point. Under Ning Cheng's terrifying spear intent, the pale-faced green-robed woman finally reacted. She immediately flew up, and at the same time, a circular shield appeared in her hand. She had never thought that Ning Cheng, a qi-gathering cultivator, would unexpectedly be powerful to this extent. A qi-gathering cultivator wanting to kill a true condensation 4th-level cultivator, she had never heard of such a thing before. Ning Cheng's spear light, which was filled with killing intent, collided with the green-robed woman's round shield, and immediately issued an explosive sound. The powerful true essence came back at him. Ning Cheng's spear light, which was filled with a strong killing intent, was completely dispersed by the round shield, and soon disappeared into thin air. Ning Cheng once again retreated a few steps, as he was shocked in his heart. He also did not think that this woman's cultivation was a level lower than Zhu Hongwen's, but her attack was actually a level stronger than Zhu Hongwen's. Ning Cheng's heart sank, as he slowly retreated to the edge of the array formation. It would be meaningless for him to continue fighting. If he was blocked by these two people with their full strength, then he really would not be able to escape. This woman seemed to know that Ning Cheng was going to leave, and immediately blocked Ning Cheng's path, while at the same time 5 flying swords began to circle around her. Hongwen, help me kill him. The green-robed woman did not have that kind of demure demeanor from before. At this time her eyes were filled with a calm killing intent. Zhu Hongwen did not need this woman's reminder, as he forcibly stopped his injuries, and stared at Ning Qing like a hungry wolf. Looking at the madness in his eyes, Ning Qing knew that this person was ready to go all out. A person who could control 5 flying swords, would definitely have a stronger spiritual sense than him, as such Ning Qing did not have the thought of continuing to tangle with this person. He raised the spear in his hands, and spoke in a sarcastic tone, "Xiong Qi Hua, you cheated on your husband, hiding in this place must be very free and unfettered, right? Ji Xianzhang must have been blind, to unexpectedly marry a woman like you. Maybe he had already been killed by you and your adulterer. For the sake of Ji Luofei's face, today I will not haggle with you, there will naturally be someone who will seek revenge on you." When the green-robed woman heard Ning Cheng's words, she suddenly became as dumb as a wooden chicken, her face once again turned as white as a sheet of paper, even the 5 flying swords revolving around her also powerlessly fell down. She only had one sentence in her heart: how did this person know who she was? How did he know what she had done? What the hell was going on? No wonder she did not understand, she had been living here for more than a decade. But Ning Qing seemed to be less than 20 years old, how could he know about her family's matters? What made her even more panicked was that Ning Qing said that he was looking at Ji Luofei's face. It was obvious that the relationship between this person and Ji Luofei was not shallow. While the green-robed woman was still in a state of panic, Ning Qing had already rushed past her, leaving behind an afterimage, and in an instant he was already far away. In fact, when the green-robed woman was in a daze a moment ago, Ning Qing had the opportunity to kill her. Ning Qing was really looking at Ji Luofei's face, as such he spared Xiong Qihua's life. Although Zhu Hongwen was also shocked by Ning Qing's words, but he was already seriously injured, and could only helplessly watch Ning Qing leave. He did not have even half a shred of ability to stop Ning Qing. Who is he? How did he know about me? How did he know about Luofei? Is Luofei alright now? Xiong Qihua was still muttering to herself, as her complexion turned even paler. Zhu Hongwen stood on the side and softly comforted her. From this person's mouth, Luofei is certainly doing well. Qihua, you don't have to worry. Xiong Qihua acted as if she did not hear Zhu Hongwen's words. After muttering to herself for a while, she suddenly looked up and said, I want to go out, I want to see Luofei. Saying that she also muttered to herself, if this person goes to Luofei and talks about me, Zhu Hongwen sighed. He knew Xiong Qihua's thoughts. If her daughter thought that her mother had killed her father, and was hiding in the Dawn Forest with her adulterer, what would her daughter do? Would she recognize her as her mother? He estimated that she would immediately draw her sword, right? I have a way to make Luofei not believe his words. Zhu Hongwen spoke in a low voice. What way? Xiong Qihua's eyes widened as she looked at Zhu Hongwen. As she spoke in a somewhat hurried tone, her pale face even had a trace of rosy color. If you see Luofei, regardless of whether Luofei already knows about this or not, you need to take the first step and tell her, this person took advantage of you, too. After Ning Qing rushed out of the array formation, he found that the two people did not chase after him, and also slowed down his pace. In the Dawn Forest, he was not afraid of Xiong Qihua and Zhu Hongwen teaming up. He believed that the two of them would not dare to chase after him. Once he attracted a high-level demonic beast, he could just walk away and the two of them would still stay here. After leaving this place, Ning Qing quickened his pace. He decided to go to the Yuan continent to see if he could find a true condensation pill to advance to the true condensation realm. When a true condensation realm cultivator was able to freely use their spiritual consciousness like him, Ning Qing estimated that even if he used both of his ice spells together, he would not necessarily be able to defeat them. Xiong Qihua was such a true condensation cultivator. Even if the qi-gathering cultivators were more powerful, but compared to the true condensation cultivators, there were still some essential differences. The true condensation cultivators used true essence, while the qi-gathering cultivators used true qi. The difference in strength was obvious. Ning Qing knew that, in fact, the real watershed in cultivation was not the chi-gathering realm and the true condensation realm, but the essence-building realm. Only after reaching the essence-building realm, can one truly cast their foundation, and become a cultivator. Ning Cheng sped up, while simultaneously practicing his 36 profound ice spear technique. Since he couldn't raise his cultivation in the short term, he had to make up for it. Originally it would have taken a month's journey, but Ning Cheng had only used less than a month to complete it. When Ning Cheng looked up and saw the blue sky, as well as the empty wilderness, he let out a long sigh. After more than 2 months of trekking through the forest, this should be the land of the Yuan continent. Although he was still at the edge of the Dawn Forest, and was at the edge of the Yuan continent, Ning Cheng could feel that the spiritual qi here was much better than the Ping continent. Ning Cheng sorted out his things, and carefully wrapped the broken spear on his back, and prepared to bring out his flying sword to leave the edge of the Dawn Forest. A grey figure suddenly appeared more than 200 meters away from Ning Cheng, and following this grey figure was a demon wolf that Ning Cheng had killed too many times. After the demon wolf rushed out of the edge of the Dawn Forest, it seemed to feel that it was very dangerous outside, and gave up on continuing to chase the grey figure, and turned around to enter the Dawn Forest. This was a young man wearing a grey cultivator's robe. He seemed to know that the demon wolf would not continue to chase him. After rushing out of the Dawn Forest, he did not continue to run away, but rather walked towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng, seeing this, also did not continue to bring out his flying sword. He also wanted to ask for directions. This young man looked to be about the same age as him, and also had the cultivation of Qi gathering 9th level. But he had a beard on his face, which made him look like he had gone through many vicissitudes of life, and seemed to be a bit older. This young man had a white face, and his whole body was covered with a faint bloody aura. There was an obvious scar on his face, which further accentuated his ferociousness. Ning Cheng had been in the Dawn Forest for nearly a year, so when he came in contact with this kind of faint bloody murderous aura, he was able to feel it. He was sure that this young man had stayed in the Dawn Forest for a long time. Moreover, he was a decisive person. "My name is Tai Shu Shi. I have been living in the Dawn Forest for a long time. This friend looks somewhat unfamiliar. Could it be that you have just arrived?" This grey-robed young man looked to be extremely friendly, as he came over with a smile on his face and took the initiative to greet him. Chapter 63. My name is Ning Cheng, and I have indeed just arrived here. Ning Cheng cupped his fists, but did not say that he had come from the Ping continent through the Dawn Forest. Tai Shu Shi said with great interest, "This place is really good. I have been here for half a year, and have gained a lot." However, he didn't dare to go any deeper. Firstly, he was afraid of getting lost. Secondly, he was too weak to go alone. "Since Brother Ning is able to come to the Dawn Forest, presumably you are also one of us." Ning Cheng immediately understood the meaning of Tai Shu Shi's words. He wanted to go deep into the Dawn Forest to look for opportunities, but his strength was slightly worse, so he wanted to find a person to team up with. When he saw that he was also at the edge of the Dawn Forest, he came looking for him. Ning Cheng had stayed in the Dawn Forest for a few months, and was fully aware of the dangers that lurked inside. Although he knew the safe route, but it took him a few months to come out. It was not a good thing to get lost. Moreover, Ning Cheng also knew that there were not many good things in the Dawn Forest. Compared to the danger, this kind of risk was not worth it. Besides, Ning Cheng did not want to go back to the Dawn Forest, so he just smiled and said, "I don't know if Brother Tai Shu wants to go there to gain experience, or do you want to look for some high-level spiritual grasses? If you're looking for high-grade spiritual herbs, then I advise Brother Grand Uncle to change locations as soon as possible." I was also somewhat familiar with the Dawn Forest, although there are some high-level spiritual grasses in it, but they are extremely rare. Even in a year you might not be able to find even one. Brother Tai Shu has been in the vicinity for nearly half a year, so I'm sure you're very clear about this. If Brother Tai Shu really wants to gain experience, then you simply do not need to go deep into the Dawn Forest, as long as you are at the edge of the forest, you can achieve the same effect. After Tai Shu Shi heard Ning Cheng's words, he patted his head and said, why didn't I think of that? I have already stayed here for half a year, and the highest level of spirit grass is only level 2. There is really no need to continue staying here. As for training, I've long been tired of these brainless low-level demonic beasts. Although I need a lot of these low-leveled spiritual grasses, but it is not necessary to keep them in the Dawn Forest. You need a large amount of low-level spirit herbs. Are you an alchemist? Ning Cheng asked in doubt. He now knew that not all people who practiced alchemy were called alchemists. Only those who could refine pills could be called alchemists. Those who could not refine pills and could only refine spirit liquids and pills were called alchemists. Tai Shu Shi's age did not look old, so it was impossible for him to be a pill master, so when Ning Cheng heard him say that he needed a lot of spiritual grasses, he thought that he was an alchemist. Tai Shu Shi proudly smiled and said, Brother Ning, you really look down on me. I am a 100% Tier 1 ordinary pill master, moreover I already have the confidence to refine a Tier 2 ordinary pill. Ning Cheng had more than once heard people say that alchemy was very difficult, moreover the people who told him about the difficulty of alchemy all had some background. Whether it was Fang Jian or the old woman, their tone was the same. Fang Jijian was a bit better, he only said that alchemy was difficult. Not only did the old woman say that alchemy was difficult, but she also said that alchemy was a small path. Ning Cheng was just thinking of refining the true condensation pill. At this time he met an alchemy master, he immediately wanted to inquire about it. Even if this Tai Shu Shi in front of him was not able to refine the pill that he wanted, the other party was definitely in contact with more people than him. Thinking till here, Ning Cheng hurriedly asked, Brother Tai Shu, I often hear people talking about pill masters. I do not know what is a pill master, can Brother Tai Shu please enlighten me? When Tai Shu Shi heard Ning Cheng's inquiry, he looked at Ning Cheng up and down with some doubts, and then asked, Is it possible that Brother Ning is not a person from the Yuan continent, and came from the Dawn Forest? Ning Cheng secretly thought that Tai Shu Shi was very shrewd, and did not hide anything. That's right, my luck is good. It took me a few months to pass through the Dawn Forest. What Ning Cheng said was very simple, but Tai Shu Shi's heart was in turmoil. He was almost killed several times at the edge of the Dawn Forest. Ning Cheng was able to pass through the Dawn Forest, this was simply too amazing. Moreover Ning Cheng said that he could pass through the Dawn Forest as if he was eating and drinking water. In fact it was definitely not the case, no one could rely on luck to pass through the Dawn Forest. From this, it can be seen that Ning Cheng was not a person who liked to boast. This kind of person had a calm mind, and would definitely have a bright future. Thinking that he was proud of his ability in alchemy, Tai Shu Shi felt ashamed in his heart, and at the same time he also wanted to make friends with Ning Cheng. So it was like this, Brother Ning originally came from the Ping continent. The spiritual qi in the Ping continent is the most scarce, there are many things that have not been spread out, so it is normal that you do not know about it. After Tai Shu Shi calmed down his shocked mood, he said in detail, in fact, the I Ching mainland's alchemy masters are divided into ordinary pill masters, true pill masters, profound pill masters, earth pill grandmasters and heaven pill grandmasters. The pills are also divided into 9 levels. Those who can refine level 1 and level 2 pills are called ordinary pill masters. Those who can refine level 3 and level 4 pills are called true pill masters, and those who can refine level 5 and level 6 pills are called profound pill masters. Only those who can refine level 7 and level 8 pills can be called as earth pill grandmasters. As for those who can refine level 9 and above pills, they are called heaven pill grandmasters. After listening to Tai Shu Shi's words, Ning Cheng came to understand. Originally those spiritual liquids and pills were not even worth mentioning. Brother Tai Shu, how many heaven pill grandmasters are there in the I Ching mainland? Presumably there should not be many, right? Ning Cheng asked again. Tai Shu Shi gave a wry smile and said, Actually I am not very clear, but I am sure that even if there are heaven pill grandmasters, there would only be one or two, it is simply not a problem to talk about how many there are. Ning Qing suddenly thought of the time when he was talking with the old woman and Fang Jiani. He caught onto a question, and then asked again, Brother Tai Shu, I heard people say that in the lower class continents cultivation methods, the qi-gathering cultivators rarely stretch out their spiritual sense. But alchemy requires a strong spiritual sense. How does Brother Tai Shu practice alchemy? Tai Shu Shi stared at Ning Qing, and after a good while said, I finally understand why Brother Ning was able to pass through the Dawn Forest. It turns out that Brother Ning and I are the same kind of people. Seeing that Ning Qing was about to speak, Tai Shu Shi raised his hand to stop Ning Qing from speaking, and continued, I am sure that Brother Ning does not practice a simple cultivation method. In fact, this is not a secret. In the advanced class continents, even in the intermediate class continents, the cultivators practice a complete cultivation method, that is, from the qi-gathering first level, they start to cultivate their spiritual sense. After reaching the qi-gathering fourth level, one would be able to fly on a flying sword. In the true condensation realm, the sea of consciousness would be formed, and the spiritual sense would also turn into spiritual consciousness. It is not like what the lower class continents say that you need to reach the essence building realm in order to have a sea of consciousness. Saying that, Tai Shu Shi gave a self-deprecating smile and said, I presume that Brother Ning is the same as me, and both of us practice a complete cultivation method, and are able to release our spiritual sense. Ning Qing had thought that this was one of his secrets, but he did not think that anyone from the Yuan continent would know about it. He asked in confusion, could it be that everyone in the Yuan continent knows about this? Tai Shu Shi shook his head and said, you all know, how is that possible? However, there were also some people who knew that it was just that everyone was lacking in spiritual energy resources. If they wanted to advance, they had no choice but to cultivate low-level cultivation techniques. Don't look at a lower-class continent's true condensation cultivator. If a lower-class continent's true condensation cultivator went to a higher-class continent, maybe they would not be able to defeat a genius qi-gathering cultivator. This is a fact, no one can change it. Sure enough, just as he had guessed, Ning Qing also felt a bit sad. With his cultivation, being able to reach the Hua continent was already a great achievement. If he wanted to go to an intermediate-class continent, then it would be even more difficult. Since elder brother Ning was able to pass through the Dawn Forest, then you should have the same thoughts as me, always thinking that one day you would be able to go to an intermediate-class continent. Unfortunately, although we understand this truth, but the spiritual qi here is not enough for us to advance to a higher level. If we do not have a profound core cultivator to escort us, then even if we want to go to an intermediate-class continent, it would simply be a delusion. Tai Shu Shi did not know whether he was trying to persuade Ning Qing, or was trying to comfort himself. Ning Qing quickly put aside these distracting thoughts, who was the one who was sure that he would be able to cultivate to the qi-gathering 9th level. But he had also cultivated to the same level. What would happen in the future, who could say it clearly? Elder brother Tai Shu, from the way you spoke before, it seems that there are other continents outside of our Yixing mainland. Ning Qing had long wanted to ask this question. He wanted to know if the Earth was a different continent compared to the Yixing mainland. That's right, the Yixing mainland is just one of the planes in the entire chaotic universe. In the chaotic universe, there are countless planes. Some of them can be reached by relying on one's cultivation level, but there are also some that cannot be reached by relying on one's cultivation level. In other words, if one's cultivation level does not reach an extremely terrifying level, then one would not be able to pass through the planes. When Tai Shu Shi spoke about the countless planes, his tone became dignified. Ning Qing did not understand these things, but after listening to Tai Shu Shi's words, his heart sank. What Tai Shu Shi meant was that he would never be able to return to Earth. Elder brother Tai Shu, how do you know about this? Is it possible that all the cultivators in the Yuan continent know about this truth? Ning Qing knew that Tai Shu Shi did not have any reason to lie to him, but in his heart he still missed him, and hoped that he could be an exception. Tai Shu Shi shook his head and said, I and elder brother Ning felt like old friends at first sight, and felt that elder brother Ning was a person who could be made friends with. In fact, the cultivation method that I practice is from my Tai Shu clan. My Tai Shu clan appeared thousands of years ago in the Yixing mainland's Lu continent. Later, in order to find a way back, our ancestor left the Lu continent. After our ancestor left, my Tai Shu clan also gradually declined. Until today, I am the only one who ended up in the Yuan continent, this low-leveled continent. Tai Shu Shi's tone was desolate. It was obvious that he was unwilling in his heart. Ning Cheng was extremely excited in his heart. Tai Shu Shi's ancestor was able to cross plains. He was absolutely a powerhouse among powerhouses. In the future, would he also be able to achieve this? Ning Cheng did not even care about Tai Shu Shi's desolation, and somewhat eagerly asked, "Elder brother Tai Shu, your ancestor must have been an amazing person. Was the cultivation method of your Tai Shu clan also passed down from that ancestor?" Originally, Ning Cheng wanted to ask if there was any information about the ancestor of the Tai Shu clan that could cross plains, but thinking that the friendship between the two of them was not very deep, asking this question seemed a bit abrupt. He decided to slowly lead the way to this question. Listening to Ning Cheng talk about his ancestor, Tai Shu Shi's face immediately showed a very proud look. "My ancestor's name is Tai Shu Yi. According to my Tai Shu clan's inheritance, because of an accident, my ancestor crossed plains and landed in the Yixing mainland. At that time his cultivation level was only a billionth of his original cultivation level. But even so, the most powerful person in the entire Yixing mainland, in front of my ancestor, was just like an ant." You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.